Welcome back, Summoners. Today, we head back into the Rift for some SIDO Path2Pro Combine. I'm your host once again for the evening, Korak, joined today by Mr. Quacks. Hello, my friend.
Hey, Koryak, it's been a little bit. You don't think I've
Mhm.
done a Cyto Combine cast all week, so it's nice to finally be back casting some of the top talent in the region as we're kind of summoning over that halfway point, right? We're still kind of in week 2, but I believe this is like the last day of that. Week number 3 is right around the corner. So
Mhm.
I am looking forward to seeing how these players have progressed and what improvements we have seen from them thus far in the drafts and in the gameplay, as we do have the teams up here for you guys. And we've got Team A featuring K, U, Toasty, Shogo, and Cryogen on the left of your screen. And then Team B with Crimson, Aeon Crystal, Samikin, Array, and Mixture.
Well, and something I want to point out here too is, I have personally got a chance to cast U13 into Aeon Crystal beforehand, and I believe U13 was a bit of a newer talent, a little bit less experienced than maybe some of these players, but it really didn't feel like it in the cast that I was able to get my hands on and sort of watch and go through. U13 has really shined out, at least in my opinion, done a lot of work, especially into someone like Aeon Crystal, which I don't think is a small feat, Quacks. So I think that's going to be someone we're going to need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Yu has been considered one of the newer talents. He's obviously been propped up via Weber State over in Sealol,
Mhm.
and that is where we've mostly seen him compete, right? He really hasn't left that squad, and that squad has stuck together for a pretty long time. So seeing him kind of out of his element, not having mid laners like Goku who are, known for facilitating him, not having supports like Mystiquez who are willing to make those roams up toward the top side and make those aggressive plays into the enemy jungle with him to get him accelerated further has been an interesting little twist on what you is capable of when you kind of strip away those preset advantages that he had via his teammates and via his program that we all associate him with. But looking into these teams right now and having, we talk about Goku, I think that Toasty is one of the best mid laners in the
Mhm.
region, going up against one of the other best mid laners in the region, at least when we're talking developmental talent in Samikin. And then Cryogen, I think, is one of the best roaming supports in development, if not the best roaming support in development. He loves those timers. He has those on lock. He's really good at always linking up with his jungler, no matter who that jungler is. And so I expect them to be able to facilitate that more aggressive, high economy play style that you really likes to go in the jungle.
Absolutely. And support and the jungle combo is something I think a lot of people forget about. And I think the synergy is going to be really, really important, especially as you mentioned. U13, for the most part, is very, very comfortable with the team that he's been on, the collegiate team that he's been on for the longest time. So it's really nice to see him build some synergy with some of these other teams and some of these other junglers. And I think that specific combination is going to be another one to watch out for. Not that the other side isn't going to be important as well, but you pointed out how powerful that roaming power is on Cryo.
All right. And so before we kind of hop really into this draft and before we really hop into this game and this block 3 that we have ahead of us, Koryak, we do have to set a couple of expectations going into this block. Okay. So one, the champion pools are limited. You can only pick, I believe it is, I see 7 champions available for the jungle, and that is about the max that you have in every role. There are flex picks available, like the Aurora and the Galio and the Ziggs, but every single team is confined to these 7 champions that all have been really popular in the meta, so you won't be seeing any crazy surprises in this block today. But it also means that you have limited amounts of bans. As you can see on the bottom of your screen, only 1 ban per team. Obviously, Team A opting for that Yunara, and then Team B opting for that Orianna. And because Orianna was not, or because Azir was not taken away, a Team B just going to snag that one up and get a good jungle matchup.
Absolutely, and a lot of strong champions have already been picked here on Team A. We've got the Wukong, the Talia, the Rumble. Very nice sort of wombo combo in between all of them. We've got the Azir, we've got the Zen, and Cassante. As we mentioned, unfortunately, Oriana is banned out, so no ball delivery system for that one. And I
Mhm.
don't really blame them because Oriana with Wukong or Zen is such a great spot. Granted, you could argue that it's much better on Jarvan, but Wukong and Zen are perfectly fine for that ball delivery system. But that's no longer to be there. Yunara showing up in the bans is no real surprise whatsoever. Even when she did receive the nerf, they didn't touch her damage. They just a couple of movement speed related things and slowdowns. So she was still very, very powerful, and you could compensate for that. But how
Yeah.
are you feeling about Cassante into Rumble?
I think Casante so far now, I feel like when we were looking at this matchup, we partially have to bleed in a little bit of the players that are piloting these guys,
Hmm.
right? Because
Hmm.
Crimson is obviously known for some of the skirmishing champions that he really likes to go. In solo queue before he was picked up, he was a Riven OTP, similar to his twin brother and his older brother, Viper, who, by the way, just recently broke the LP record for NA. So congratulations to
Oh
him.
wow.
But I do think that while this is a fighter champion, it really only is unlocked at level 6. And I think Rumble is a
Mhm.
character that even before level 6, if you take one wrong step, if you take one bad trade into his overheat, could really hurt you in the laning phase. And so I think that it's up to Crimson to kind of walk on eggshells until he gets that all out and can really threaten that 100-0 on the Rumble, who can do the same thing, but doesn't need ult in order to do so. And kind of looking at these players, I think K is one of the better Rumbles that I've seen. Obviously, he's kind of that spiritual successor to Zamudo on Dark Zero in the NACL. And Zamudo himself, really good at some of those magic damage top laners who can bully you in the laning phase. So if we want to see that, I would say, moniker ring true, a good Rumble game here would be really nice for Team A. And not only helping K out to get further in his career, which he kind of just started in NA, but also it just is a huge damage profile here for Team A so far. They have a lot of power once they hit those level 6s.
Absolutely. And it looks like so far Team B has grabbed a lot of sort of the hands diff kind of champions. I would consider Cassante in that list as well between Ezreal and Azir. I know that there's better options, but for me, when I think of hands diff and I think of ADCs, I still do think of Ezreal, even though at some of the lower the elos, he really, really struggles. And then sometimes even at the T1 experience, Ezreal seems to struggle. But once again, this is all about the players and not necessarily the champions, but I do think the champions help tell a story about the players, and I think it's something to watch out for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that while we're talking about the players, one matchup that I really have to highlight, we touched on it a little bit um previously, but this is Samakin and Toasty. I think Toasty, a lot of people have been saying that this is the guy that will be an LCS one day, and recently just got picked up by Maraville. So he will be one of the best mid laners already without being put on to the best program for developing talent. Now put on that program, who has propped up players like Zamudo, who's propped up players like Yuji, who has taken these guys to the next step. Now Toasty is going to be getting that treatment over at that program. I think it's a really cool opportunity for him. And then you got Samakin, right? Samakin is obviously known for his playstyle. He's known for the champions that he is really efficient on: the Zoe, the Hui. We saw the Lux last night in ACL. This guy on long range artillery mages is an absolute freak. And so now seeing him on Azir, which is not necessarily in the same boat as the champions I just mentioned, but still can leverage that range, I think it'll be really cool to see him not only on a champion that he's, super duper mega comfortable on, not one of his staples, but something that is comfortable enough to where he can make Toasty sweat for a little bit in the laning phase.
Absolutely. And we're really shaping up here for plenty of the teams. As we mentioned, this is going to be quite the limited selection when it comes to a lot of the champions that are picked. And it's also not going to be fearless. So that is a bit of a mix up. I don't remember exactly when that did get implemented, but it is going to be something to watch out for. And I think it's really a different style of play, not sort of having to draft around the fearless, but it's honing in on a lot of those more meta champions in a lot of
Yeah.
different ways, which you're going to see going forward. And I think limiting the pools even further really turns this into a harder boot camp in a good way, Quacks.
Yeah, I mean, this is about improving the players at the end of the day, right? And making sure that any weaknesses that they have, they can shore up going into 2026, and making it so that they are as clean as possible going into the new year. And I think for most of these players in this series, that is specifically important because these are the guys that a lot of teams in the LCS will be looking at. But I feel like that rings no more true than in the mid lane. Right, Toasty, like we said, basically next up in a lot of people's minds for the LCS, and I think that his time on Maraville will certainly help him get to that level. And then Samikin, obviously, has been slowly but surely, I think, creeping up in everybody's minds as a top prospect in North America. A
Mhm.
lot of people look at that miracle run that Blue Water attempted last year, and people think, okay, that was mostly a team effort. Samikin did have his moments. He was one of the better players in that run, but let's see if he can repeat that success. And then at the start of 2025, it kind of looked like, it was a bit rocky. Blue Water were having their struggles. Samikin in particular was really struggling against some of the other mid laners. But then they turned it back on again in summer, and he looked like the player he did in 2024. So I think not only is it about getting those meta picks down for Samikin, it's about getting that consistency down, right? Making him his best self at all times, no matter what champion you give him. And I think Toasty is an avid opponent and a very appropriate one to get those lessons down for him.
Absolutely. That consistency is the base level that often wins a lot of these different games. Sure, the objective, sure, the kills, sure, the picks and the plays and the hands diff can make such a big difference. But the consistency allows you to not only capitalize on wins, but to play from behind. You've got this consistent baseline level that helps out so much. And it's so important in League of Legends, especially with how the game is set up, because League really rewards plenty of these back and forward fights and kind of punishes you in a lot of different ways for being too aggressive in some scenarios. So it's quite the balancing act, Quacks.
And I do think you talk about the over aggressiveness, and that's something that maybe will have to be on check here for Team A because you look at the comps right now. As we did have some technical difficulties with the draft, but Team A very front loaded in the damage department, right? You hit the ground running and you immediately go for those proactive plays. I'm looking at the solo laners and Talia and Rumble. If you can get shove, you can not only give Wukong the ability to farm up until that level 6, but once he does get that Cyclone, he can look for trades onto the Xin Zhao and possibly bully out Aeon from his jungle. You can get vision there, and from there get those objectives that you mentioned, Koryak. But for Team B, I don't think it's much of a worry. It's kind of the opposite for them, right? You're a very scale-oriented comp. You've got that Ezreal. You've got that Bards. These are champions with very similar power curves and very similar breakpoints in terms of items. Really, the outlier for all of this is going to be that Xin Zhao, right? So we're looking at Aeon Crystal to be that bridge, get fed early, look for plays early, and then use that gold and funnel it into your late game win conditions. And so I feel like if they can do that, it'll be a very seamless and clean game number one here for Team B. But if Team A can look for those angles onto the Xin Zhao, interrupt him, and basically break the bridge before it's even built, then it's really tough to imagine a world where Azir and Ezreal are actually safe to be on those side lanes, farm up to those breakpoints, and be strong.
Absolutely, Quacks. And those are all super great points to bring up. And something I wanted to dive into just a little bit is Team A, the more I look at it, is a bit, for lack of a better word, juggly, right? So we've got a lot of knockouts. We've got a lot of moving people around. You've got to stay hot on your feet with the equalizer on Rumble. So there's a lot of back and forward there that we've got to watch out. Rakan's got knockups. Kaisa has a lot of movement, and Rakan also has those knockups as well. So if they play into that, they use the CC, they use a lot of that crowd control in order to mess with the other side. Could be very important. And I think that is sort of the purpose of limiting the champions pool is it's honing in on what is your team comp and how do we play into it throughout the entirety of the game? How do we play into it when we're losing? How do we play into it when we're winning? What are the strengths of this specific thing? And sort of limiting the deck down to just a couple of cards so you can harp on that specific thing to
Mhm.
get in the mind of these players that, hey, this is something we need to play for. This is our team comp. We need to put a sticky note on our monitors or whatever it is in order to remind us this is what we need to be going for. These are our strengths.
Yep. And both of those teams going to have to think about those strengths, but we are going to be thinking about how this game will play out as we are going to go to a small little break as we wait for the spectator delay to hit and we wait for everything to subside. So we will see you all on Summoner's Rift. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
righty, Quacks, here we go from draft into game number 1. Team A, of course, on blue side. Team B, of course, on the red side. We're starting off with actually a little bit of a rumble. Samikin taking quite the smashing. Double flash does save them as the Braum goes in, blows a flash, and grabs a little bit of a stun. Kind of a weird interaction starting off, Quacks.
And a little bit of anti-synergy there from Samikin and Mixture. Samikin flashed away, Mixture flash healed, but because the distance was too great from the Azir after he flashed, the heal didn't go through, so Samikin didn't actually end up receiving that extra little bit of bout of health. Doesn't matter though, because the best source of healing is the fountain, and so Samikin is going to go back there, be at full HP before the minions crash, and all is right with the world, minus the fact that both Mixture and Samikin had to use those defensive summoner spells, and maybe that opens up an opportunity for Cryogen or even you to look for some of these aggressive plays.
Absolutely. And speaking of aggressive plays, Braum doing Braum things here on Mix. Mix doing a good chunk of damage, just sort of starting off, but that should be healed rather quickly. We do have Rakan's Q, so that's going to be something to watch out for. And something I like on Rakan too is Rakan can't necessarily out-roam the Bard, but he can keep up in a lot of different ways if we're worried about that for sure. And you did point out how important Cryogen is with his roams, and I'm going to love seeing that on Rakan for sure.
Absolutely. I feel like both of these supports are kind of in a similar boat to Samikin and Toasty, but for the support role, a role that is also similarly, a lot of people like to say that support for North America is in a bit of a drought talent-wise, but many say both Mixture and Cryogen are kind of the top prospects in Tier 3, so every time you see these two face off, it always is a treat. And one of the biggest elements of their gameplay is their ability
going
to
in, Cryogen. Yep. Able to get a decent knock up. I thought we were going to turn into a bit more of a fight, but Ezreal's still very hard to pin down. But that's a lot of damage on the side of Team B. Ezreal and Bard are at quite the disadvantage, at least when it comes to resources and damage, Quacks.
And I like how far up Shogo and Cryogen are willing to play. They understand that they are stronger in the 2v2. Shogo rocking that Ghost as well means that you've got to be aggressive, right? You can't just wait for Array to poke you down and then wish you had that barrier because you're getting hit by too many skill shots. You have to be the aggressor. You have to be the one that's going in, posturing in these ways, and that's exactly what they're doing. They have a slight push in bot lane, but as we saw, Cryogen did get a ward in that tri-bush where Aeon will end up on the bot side river, so I wouldn't expect a gank to really come through here because of that and just how slippery Team A's bot lane actually is.
Tyson Rakan being very, very hard to get down, especially dealing with Rakan. Rakan loves to go in and out and stop and disrupt plenty of things. And something I really like here that's small, a little small detail, is people, I think, forget how powerful the Q is on Rakan, but not Cryogen. However, it looks like Ezreal stepped a little bit too far forward, having to blow a... No, actually, okay. I thought he used Flash, but it looks like it was going to be the phase instead. U13 into Aeon Crystal. Aeon Crystal taking quite the wallop, having to blow a Flash. So many flashes down early on with only 4 minutes on the clock, Quacks.
And it looked like Aeon might have postured to go up toward that top crab, but didn't know where Yu was in his jungle, so he opts to commit for the bot side one. Kind of guesses wrong, plays that game of chicken, and ends up getting run over, or flashing out of the way before getting run over, and so has to be careful about further aggression from Team A. Has to be very careful about exfiltrating himself from the top side river.
The game of chicken's not quite over yet, as once again, U13 pushes Aeon Crystal away from one of his objectives. He does go over the wall, but look how low his HP is happening. It looks like it's not going to happen. That's going to be our first blood on the Rumble. I don't think that's who you want to have it.
And you led you right to your respawn Krugs as well, so the Wukong is going to be able to get a little bit of extra gold before his first vac. This is really good for Wukong, a champion who is traditionally a little less aggressive until he unlocks that Cyclone. Having that little bit of gold and experience to get to that Triforce spike and that level 6 spike faster, going to be really valuable there for you. And then K, obviously, not having backed yet, having that extra little bit of gold, this will not only give him the Faded Ashes, but maybe gives him a little bit of extra tankiness on things like the Ruby Crystal or the Amp Tome, whichever one he decides to go for, as he will get this wave shoved in and then immediately take a reset after getting level 6, because as we can see, Shogo and Cryogen making their way toward the top side.
Absolutely. A bit before the objectives are up, so no real help over there. Rakan does go over the vision as we get a full rotation, at least so far, for ADCs and top. Not real surprised by that. So we're getting really close here to the objectives, but I like the positioning of the wave here for Cryogen and for Shogo, because this could be a potential early plate, which sounds like a small thing, but that's an easy 125 gold. However, Crimson sticking around here, trying to start off the fight there. It's going to be Rakan into the other side as Shogo does manage to dodge the flash, but can he keep himself away from Crimson? Crimson flashes forward, able to get a decent knockback, taking down Shogo just as they get into lane. K'Sante sticking around just a little bit extra in order to pick up a kill, and now he's matched with Rumble, at least in kills.
And that felt like a little bit of a miscalculation from Shogo and Cryogen. They were looking for some kind of play onto Crimson to maybe bully him off of the wave, but what ends up happening is them just not anticipating the Bard would be there as quickly. But one thing about Bard, getting out of base is very fun because you can use that portal to essentially get out of that territory, or at least away from the turrets that are defending the inner part of your base. So a Bard really good at covering that distance as Toasty flashes away.
Looking for an angle here on Toasty, but unfortunately it's just not going to happen. That's going to be an ultimate down for Sammykin and a flash down for Toasty. Toasty able to stay alive. I think it's going to be really important because his TP is down and he really, really needs this wave. And getting pushed into Zen is always very, very scary because Zen has plenty of tools to follow it up for sure. Cryogen sticking around there in the top lane. Not real too surprising for that one. He's got plenty of escape tools. He's got plenty of healing, so we can watch out for that. But Ezreal, Ari, very comfortable just sticking around on this champion, sort of grabbing a lot of this solo experience.
We can see that Aeon is sticking toward the top side. We've kind of got this split map going on, and Shogo and Cryogen, we praised the aggressiveness that they had in the 2v2s earlier, but now, because they are under the impression, rightly so, that Xin Zhao is on the top side, they're significantly reeling it in and not willing to go for those trades out of fear that Aeon is around the corner. And also Shogo not having any of those summoner spells means that even if Aeon is toward the bot side, they have to be careful about fully committing to these fights because they don't have that safety net in their back pocket.
Especially because neither side wants to risk giving up the Void Grubs. You've got about 5 seconds on the clock until they are up. Yep. We're going to get a backing here from Cryogen, so I wonder if the plan is to sort of give it up. I know Rakan can get back fast, but not 3 seconds fast. It looks like he does have a spellbook, so he does have TP for it. Okay, so I like that strategy. I always forget how powerful spellbook is, and Rakan's showing that now. We are getting a little bit of start here for U13 for the Void Grubs. I think this is going to be a very important pickup, and it looks like Aeon Crystal's lagging just a tiny bit behind, but we're shaping up for a full 4v4 fight.
We are getting the pings down, but like we said, Team B significantly less scary than Team A in before the 20 minutes, but they're going to be the first one. Tempered Fate is out.
Mixture picking up a stun. Rakan going in. That's going to be knock up. The jungle is going to be good as Shogo picks up a kill on the jungle, and now Sammykin has to run away from the objective. Very, very clean plays from both sides, but Team A definitely coming out on top. I mentioned how important that juggling is going to be, and we got to see a perfect example of how the rest of the game might follow.
And Toasty, I mean, serves them up on a silver platter. Shogo feasts, and Team A, their dessert, going to be those grubs as they will pick up the full encampment of them. Team B weren't first to the river. They thought they had an angle with the Tempered Fate, but unfortunately Toasty just had a massive shove that immediately eliminated 2 members of Team B. So they'll get that objective now, though, maybe looking for something on top side. He doesn't go over the wall, though. K might be able to turn this.
He's sticking around. The Equalizer coming down, trying to buy himself a little bit of distance, but it doesn't matter because it looks like Aeon Crystal is ready here for a gank with Mixture. We're going to get a classic jungle and a support combination going down for that gank, and it turned out really, really well for the other side, and those little bitty victories are what they need. Cryogen and Toasty maybe overstaying their welcome, gonna run into 2 if they're not careful. Bard going in as the Zir. Sammykin's able to get a nice
Sammykin
immediately under the tower. Sammykin absolutely on fire, but can they lock down this Rakan? Looks like it's not going to happen, but still very solid kill. U13 going in, looking for an angle on Sammykin, trying to turn this tempo back in their favor. The portal is good as they go over the wall, but it looks like U13's gonna fall next to Rakan. Sammykin over the wall as Mixture buys so much time with a double stun, and somehow Sammykin walks away with
they don't want to give him up. They're on the pursuit.
Oh,
They
are they
do
going
not want
for
to
it?
let Samikin live. I don't think
They
they're going to
do
continue.
not.
Nope, they're not going to continue committing for it. Mixture is just going to be a little bit annoying. Maybe
Oh,
he
is he
tries to
gonna
kill Oh, Cryogene ulted.
Mixture looking for a kill. There's the ultimate for Ari and the ultimate on Bard as it looks like Cryogen sort of holding the bag, gonna get taken down. U13 stayed a little bit too long trying to lock down the Bard, but it's just not gonna happen. Rumble arriving for the reinforcements, but right as everyone dies, unfortunately for Key.
Mixture with the S tier rage bait onto Team A there. He gives Samikin the opportunity with that initial stun to look for the shove, gets himself a kill, and then gets the stun that allows the Azir to get out. And then on top of that, tries to look for a kill onto Crowsion, forces out the ultimate, and now he's looking on a kill to Toasty. He cancels the Weaver's Wall.
Toasty goes in, but it looks like Bard stops him immediately. That getaway free ult just did not work as Mixture is out for blood. Unfortunately, the reinforcements are here as Rakan and Cryogen go in. Shogo here to mop up everything that is left. Samikin in danger for sure. So close to going down. One shot, two, and that's going to be a 4-1 Kaisa in the hands of Shogo.
And Shogo, the player that a lot of people sing the praises of because when he has those resources, when the ball is in his court, he is so good at delivering those wins to his team. As now Crimson maybe looking for an all-in on K.
Able to get the equalizer down and actually turn that fight around. This is a perfect textbook example of why League of Legends favors a lot of these turns and sort of punishes a lot of this aggression, which Team A has seen over and over and over, and Team B has capitalized on it. But that is the first real-time TA was able to capitalize on that exact phenomenon as Samikin comes in with a TP and the Drake does start. I don't think we have the resources or the HP here for Team A to take it. It might be best for them to back off.
And also, it's just a question of who will start the fight. As Samikin will.
Going over the wall. TP's coming in from the other side. Cyclone able to continue that juggling. The juggling is so powerful on the side of Team A. Crimson coming in, but is he going to go immediately to his dumb as Cryogen goes in for the juggle, for the knock-up, and I think this Drake might actually fall to Team A. Team A fully not only Team B, but also me on the cast.
And they're going to get their third objective of the game. That is all three so far for Team A. They have monopolized the neutrals in their favor. I don't believe they got the first three. Oh, no, they actually did get the first 3 kills. So that's feats unlocked at 13 minutes here before the plates even drop. So a really big early advantage here for Team A. And specifically good for a lot of these more roaming-esque characters on the side of Team A as well. We talk about the Talia and Toasty with that Weaver's Wall, but we also have to mention Cryogen. Right, both Mixture and Cryogen have been so good at maneuvering around the map, and now that you have those boot upgrades, I feel like the Rakan is definitely going to be enjoying that in his endeavors around Summoner's Rift. As looking at the next objective, we've got about 1.5 minutes until the Herald on top side, and neither team really paying too much attention toward top lane so far. A lot of the action has been toward that bot side over the past couple of minutes. So for me, it's just a matter of who is going to be able to get there first, lay down that vision, dig in the trenches, and be at that Herald for the start. Because it seems like the pattern in this game, Koryak, is whoever's at the fight to begin with, or whoever's at the neutral to begin with, is the one that is favored in the exchange and the one that usually ends up the victor.
Absolutely, Quacks. It shows how important getting to the objective beforehand is just because of that positioning. And just like you correctly pointed out, every time a team gets there, they really seem to capitalize on that advantage of positioning. And even with Team A, looked like they were down on mana, down on resources, they were able to juggle and get such a fine lead. Something I'm a little worried about here is Toasty doesn't do a small amount of damage, and he's been constantly pounding Crimson on Cassante, but Cassante's just been taking it like a champ, continuing it over and over, and that's probably the idea for the rotation, them heading down bottom. I haven't got a chance to see how Key does into the other side, does into Samikin on the Azir, but just this is just kind of devastating. I don't think Cassante has a lot of MR. No, Cassante doesn't have a lot of MR, so this is just going to be pure Cassante being a monster.
Yeah, so far Cassante does have the resources to deal with the Rumble and the Talia, but hang on, K.
Gonna get an ultimate here on Mixture, but he does manage to just barely not dodge the stun. He is out of that, unfortunately, for Bard, but that was a good ultimate. That was a good attempt, and that ult is gonna be up sooner than people think. We do have Shelly up on the map, so that objective is ready to go. And once again, we're gonna have to keep an eye on the positioning on both sides, but Bard and Rakan are very good at disrupting that positioning, so it can turn around rather quickly.
And Herald has spawned up. Good shove there by Toasty.
Toasty able to do a good chunk of damage here to Crimson with the help of
Crimson
the
doesn't
tower.
have flash.
Crimson might actually be in a little bit of trouble. Cassante is still a creature and hard to pin down, but here comes U13 when he's not expecting it, picking up a kill as we get a TP over to the wall. Redemption coming down, trying to keep Key alive, but it's just not going to be enough. Shogo takes on Uri on the other side. Ezreal desperately trying to get out, but Rakan immediately goes in, buys a little bit more time, and he's not over just quite yet because the ultimate is so powerful, getting the Q on top of Mixture. But can they follow it up? There is the TP over the wall as the Zen goes in, trying to lock down Cryogen, but Cryogen's not allowing it to happen, able to get a little bit of healing off, and his objective is still in the hands of Team A somehow.
But I feel like Team A are going to be able to just set up so much better now. They've got control of mid, and they have you and Shogo rocking 3 grubs, so they'll be able to claim this mid tower because both Array and Crimson went down. So this just allows them to extend that vision line. You could see that ward right next to the Raptors as you narrowly escapes the Tempered Fate there from Mixture. Now they're having to go for a reset, so maybe Team B can reclaim some of this space, or maybe they can just... Okay, I thought they were maybe going to look for some aggression onto you, because Crimson does still have that ult and still does have that flash. So he's looking for some smoke.
Absolutely, and it looks like B is playing this really slow, really cautious into the other side. They're trying to set things up to where they can make these decisive turns and win these objectives. They're not taking a lot of risks, while Team A is doing quite of the opposite. Team A has had a lot of decent turns, but they've been way more aggressive in terms of tempo and in terms of action, and that pressure they've been able to provide by taking out those towers is really adding on to that.
Yeah, it absolutely is. They are able to extend that vision line via the mid lane turret taking. And just now it's a question of which objective are you going to utilize because you've got that advantage. We see Dragon up in about 20 seconds here. A lot of the Team A members are pinging toward that bot side. K also does have teleport, so if they need that Rumble to go down there and help them out with the fight, he has the resources and the damage now to do so. He has that Leandri's Torment and is working on his second item. So this is really when Rumble, both literally and metaphorically, starts to turn up the heat.
Absolutely, and Rumble is really kind of the weirdest top lane in my opinion, just because of the play style. So I always love seeing Key just do quite a phenomenal job on it. And what's so really nice about watching these higher level plays is just seeing people able to play the weird very consistently. Rumble is very strong for a lot of different reasons, but really just doesn't fit the mold. There's not too many other champions in the game like Rumble at all, and playing off of that heat mechanic really shows a lot. And I think it shows the diversity where it comes to some of these top laners with the range of things that they can play.
Yeah, for sure. As now finally, Shoko going to start up the objective. Team A having that push in mid, having that push in top as well, kind of forcing Team B to show themselves to clear out that wave or, risk damage on that tower. They're not even going to be able to respond before that Herald gets taken down. So Team A already going to claim that one. And now the question kind of becomes, what are you going to use this on? Because you do have all the tier 1s minus the top lane taken down. There isn't an objective for another 4 minutes, and Otacon will be spawning on that top side. So do you place it in mid and then try to extend that vision line around the tri-bush that Mixture is currently at? I feel like that might be a strategy that they can run with.
Absolutely, and I think this is another good example of how important tempo is for you and for your team. Because the tempo has very much so been in A's favor, Team B has sort of had to play by the beat of Team A's drum, but that does sort of turn into a double-edged sword because if you're the one that's constantly making the tempo, that means the mistakes are more likely on your side, and Team B has tried very hard to capitalize on that, but they've had quite the struggle getting to these objectives just about every every single thing in the game. All these neutral objectives have fallen to the other side. Team A has been very, very good on that control, and it has not stopped. But what they do with this awkward time is going to be so, so important, because even how powerful they are now, just outright taking Otacon could be a bit of a mistake. It looks like Toasty goes in, trying to lock down Semikin. Semikin able to get a decent ultimate, but it's just not going to be enough, as the damage is truly there. On the other side, the Redemption coming down. Looks like we're going over the wall, trying to keep ourselves alive as the Cyclone pops off, and unfortunately, that's only one kill, but that might be what they need in order to get their hands on Otacon. So another objective might fall into the other side, into Team A's hands.
That's more than enough at this point. It's 4v5. We can see that Crimson is also on the top side. He's forced to teleport, and Crouch might have just went too far.
Aeon going in, absolutely getting decimated by the other side as the Cyclone. Able to do a little bit of damage. Key goes in. Otacon still up at about half HP. Finally, able to get the reset on, so that is not going to be an objective for Team A, at least just quite yet, because it looks like U13 has to reset, so that may not be the worst thing. Delaying that Otacon will buy them a lot of time. Key maybe overstaying his welcome just a little bit, going to run into Mixture. Dodging this Q is going to be so important, but it looks like he was just far enough away from the wall, able to escape. A look at the damage on Ezreal. Look at the damage on Ahri, already doing a good amount.
Yeah, and now you can see that these teams are just fighting for priority in the top side. Team B can't necessarily go immediately onto the Otacon because they don't have Aeon in the area, but what they can do is try and set up for it so that when Aeon does respawn, get up to that top side, they can get it off rip. But one advantage that Team A still have, they have that Herald, they can use it in mid, they can use it in bot. Toasty is in the bot lane as well with both the Weaver's Wall and the teleport. So Team B, even if you get pushed in top side, you have to be very careful about what could transpire on the other side of the map. The power that Team A have in the cross map and just threatening things on the other side of Summoner's Rift is so strong that you can never really fully commit yourself to this objective, I feel.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that both Bard and the Rakan are playing very much so into their strength. They know that they're very, very hard to pin down, so we've had a lot of aggressive wards. We've had a lot of going for these plants here in order to buy yourselves a little bit more advantage, and we're really, really prepping, still trying to find some sort of angle in order to get our hands on this Otacon for Team A, but they still are going to need that numbers advantage.
You can see that push working its magic in the top side. Now, all of Team A, minus their soul laners, are just vying for any opportunity to get these deep wards down. Mixture is doing a good job at clearing them and making the map a little bit darker for Team A, so they haven't fully committed onto the Otacon yet, but they're looking for any excuse to his now. They're maybe going to try and cut the map. The wave is going to be pushing in. That tower is really low, and maybe they can just look to dive Crimson.
It looks to be that's going to be the case. It looks like Cryogen's already gone in looking for an angle. Kaisa Shogo able to do a good chunk of damage. Redemption coming down, but it's just not going to be enough as Shogo now picks up his 7th kill. That Kaisa hits like an absolute truck for sure, and now we have the number advantage, but can Team B do it again? Can they delay this Otacon, and can they afford to delay it?
They have to be really careful how they approach this. I mean, Toast still holding on to that Weaver's Wall means he can section off the members of Team B if they try and contest it, and they're not even going to look for it. They are going to think better of it and say, you know what, we don't have our top laner, we don't have the numbers, let's go to the bot side. Dragon is up, we dig in the trenches there, and with our top laner who has teleport, maybe we could turn this one around. But Team A are sprinting to this objective, but the question is, will they get there in time?
Drake is absolutely melting. It's getting so close to going down, and grabbing that is such a good thing. That's going to delay the game so much if they're able to make it out of alive. There it is. It looks like we're going to get the deployment of that, and just multiple ultimates trying to lock everybody down. Sammy can absolutely isolate it here in the corner, going to get taken down as they've just cut off the escape for the entire team, and now the hunt is on as Aeon Crystal is trying to get out of this mess. Rakan able to get a decent knock up as Ezreal gets taken down, leaving the Zen here to pick up pieces, falling to pieces as Rumble is able to grab another kill on their end. Mixture is the only one really to escape from that wreckage. We do have Cassante here, but it's a little bit too little too late, as not only do they get the objective, but they do get taken down for it. But that does buy them a little bit of time.
It does buy them a little bit of time. It prevents the soul, but hey, I mean, half of planning the heist is planning to get away with the money. And unfortunately, you got caught by the cops. It's jail time for you. Team B do end up falling, but they do get that one dragon. Now, though, Team A is still really rich on the map. We haven't checked in with the gold for a while, but it's almost 10,000. And a lot of that is on Shoko, 8-1-3, hitting like a truck. like you said earlier, Koryak, yeah, we just get the gold graph. 3,000 in the lead here for Toasty Alex. K as well, actually, decently ahead of Crimson. And now the Baron has spawned our next objective that we're going to be playing around. And I feel like we're just going to be getting a similar plan here from Team A. Look for a pick, try and get someone on a side lane, utilize this Rakan, utilize this Wukong, utilize this Talia, whatever resources you have to with that lockdown to get a kill and then transition it into this Baron. And then you can really start looking for those curtains to close out this game.
Absolutely, and I really like the respect that Team A is showing the other side, that they're showing Team B. They're not just sort of taking these objectives directly in their face. They're still pushing for a lot of these advantages, these number advantages, the vision, and just being very, very choosy with their fights. Because, you know, especially when it comes to Baron, Baron is the original autocon in a lot of different ways. It was sort of the original thing to turn plenty of these team fights around, so it is something we need to watch out for. It's not as powerful as autocon when it comes to that turn, but it cannot be underestimated.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't even say it's like, you know, the original Otacon. Otacon wishes he was as important as Baron, as Team A maybe looking for an angle. Kraujin is on the flank.
Once again, where it looks like we're going to stop the entire retreat of the team, as it looks like Shogo once again able to pick up a kill on the Ezreal. Ezreal absolutely melting. Zen is left on the target. That ultimate is going to be so powerful, but it's just not going to be enough as Team A divides, conquers, and destroys Team B, picking up a third kill. And now Baron should fall squarely in their hands.
Absolutely. Cryogid had the angle, he had the setup, and then Toasty was there on the other side. Team B were trapped, and Shogo went on a tear in that fight. 3 down for Team B, and a Baron to finish it off. All members rocking that purple. This game is looking to sunset, Koryak.
Absolutely, and look at the damage already being done to multiple of the T2s in mid lane and in top lane. Just from a short little bitty back, that siege power is so powerful, and Team B is very much so struggling to find their own tempo. They're playing this entire game to the beat of the drum of A, and it's just not stopping.
Yup, and we could see that Team B are trying to look for a defense or like a play onto Toasty, but it gets thwarted as now all of Team A are here looking for Crimson and Mixture. Then now have to overload this bot side. Meanwhile, K is pushing in mid, so they're having a nice little 4-1 split here, and the question kind of becomes, can Team B really withstand this? They do have the Emperor's Divide. They have these you know, start tools, but I feel like the gold diff might just be a little too much for them to actually make an effort here. So they're going to go into K.
Okay, does pick up a little bit of an ultimate as Samikin does the exact same thing, trying to lock them down, but here comes
good zone,
on the other side, cutting off the escape. On the other side, Redemption doing so much work, keeping Key just barely alive as Rumble has plenty of opportunities to dish out the damage, but Samikin able to pick up a kill and a shutdown. Crimson going in, but getting absolutely isolated. Samikin trying to escape, but it's just not going to happen because Shogo wants your blood, and Shogo is bad enough to take it.
Yeah, now Team A, they trade 1 for 2. Like we said, Team B, they're going to look to try and make a last-ditch effort. They get it onto K, but they expend so many resources. There's no ultimate for Array, there's no ultimate for Aeon, and there's no ultimate for Mixture. So defending your base, or what's left of it, is going to be so challenging without the resources, the numbers, and the spells to do so. Team A don't even have to look for the end. They can just continue to tighten their grip.
Cryogen able to look. Oh my god, what a great juggle, and just immediately capitalized on it. And what little hope they did have fell to pieces, I think, when Mixture falls. But it looks like Team A's gonna respect it once again. Instead of going for the push, which I think a lot of teams would have gone for, they do decide to back off as the Cassante spawns on the fountain.
Yep, Cassante going to come back up, but it is going to be a base in tatters, as Dragon as well up on the map, going to swiftly be taken by Team A as they do claim their soul finally to really put a bow on this match. Now I feel like all they have to do is use the double inhib take that they had in bot and mid, squeeze out Team B, force them to look for an angle, and then inevitably fall because the gold graph is just so out of hand at this point.
Absolutely. Sammykin into Toasty. Toasty doing so much damage. That wallet having so much power, but it looks like Sammykin's able to kind of follow it up. Redemption coming down, trying to buy Sammykin just a little bit of time, but it's just not going to be enough as Sammykin falls to the weight of the wallet on the other side. That wallet diff is just so powerful. It was a valiant effort by Sammykin, but man, that's a lot of gold.
Yeah, the gold is just too much, and I feel like Team A is Shogo. Good dodge.
Shogo able to dodge a good chunk of what could have been certain death for the other side, and maybe a way to turn around, but it was just not going to happen. That Kai'Sa's too fast, and Shogo did not allow it to happen as the last T3 is beginning to fall in the top lane.
Yeah, this game out of Team B's hands is Team A. They have their grip on the necks of Team B. The last inhibitor will fall, and the last turret is the only thing standing.
Cryogen going in, followed shortly behind the Cyclone. It looks like the exhaust is coming down on top of Aeon Crystals. He's able to do absolutely nothing, getting rocked underneath his own tower, and now the Nexus is on the menu, but they're still going for a little bit of extra kills as Israel falls to a double kill on the Kai'Sa. Shogo doing an insane amount of damage, and game number 1 is going to go to Team A, Quacks.
Really solid stuff there from Team A, and I mean, I gotta give praises over to Shogo. He had a little bit of a rough sequence of events early, having to burn both that flash and that ghost defensively, and so this significantly limited his ability and his support's ability to be aggressive in the 2v2s after that lane swap. But then I feel like everything changed around the grubs, right? That shove from Toasty Alex into the double kill for Shogo gave him the resources necessary to really get back into the game, and he never went out of the game after that. He was constantly looking for fights, looking for angles. The fights were started by Crowgen, they were started by you, but they were ended by this Kai'Sa.
Absolutely, that consistency overshadowing the few mistakes that Team A did, the few overcommits that they did make. And, you know, I think that's really the primary thing that we're working on with a lot of these different teams, and we're definitely seeing that here. Team B, that was the first game. You know, the wins don't necessarily matter. It's more of the players shining here and there. So it is important, but it's also not important at the same time, Quacks. We're definitely here to focus on the players themselves, but that was also the first game and the first game of the day, so maybe Team B just needs a little bit of time to get some caffeine in their blood, in their system, which is what I am going to be doing here in the background. Keep in mind, our breaks are just a little bit longer because the coaches are going to sit down and talk to the teams usually and sort of plan out things, but we will be back in a couple of minutes. Keep an eye on the timer. I think my colleague has something to say, though.
Well, I was going to say, if you want action from the teams, if you want to know what the coaches are saying, both of these teams, I believe, have POV streams. So you could probably look at like Shogo's stream, I think, for Team A, and then I'm sure someone from Team B, probably Sammykin, is streaming right now. So if you want to know what the guys are thinking, if you want to go into game number 2 with a little bit more knowledge of what these teams are trying to improve on, go show some love to the players. Like Koryak mentioned, this is an event for them to improve, to learn. And so if you want to see that improvement and that learning in real time, I highly suggest taking a look at their personalized streams. But for this stream, as my partner said, we are going to be taking a small little break as we wait for the coaches to scold their players, win or lose. Coaches are just there for that. But we will be back with game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
restore our gloria to live forever. Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our gloria to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer.
All righty, Quacks. The break is over, and we're moving into game two, draft number two. And the first couple of bands are already out. Keep in mind, we got a little bit of a side swap, and that should continue consistently swapping on each side. Team A is now on the red side, and Team B has moved on to the blue side.
Yeah, and like we talked about, these champion pools are limited, so we are going to be seeing not a ton of flexibility out of the players because they're not really able to go outside of the perennial 7 champions. But that also does mean, Koryak, that we are not in Fearless. So we could see the
Mhm.
same champions twice, which is something I never hoped I would ever say again.
I think it's kind of interesting. It's refreshing going back to the way things used to be. I still am a big proponent of fearless and how important it is and how nice it is, especially from a coach perspective. It gives them, I don't want to say
Right.
another reason to justify them being there, but it really adds this extra level of chess for the coaches. And I really love the strategy, and I love hearing the coaches talk about it. But the first couple of picks are going to be out. Looks like Team B has decided to pick up the Oriana because it has not been banned. So great to see that. Azir
Yep.
and Wukong for Team A have shown up though.
So we are going to be seeing that ball deliver denied from Oriana here once again. Still have some options though. Obviously, Zinzao, Jarvan on the table. Pantheon as well could be another one. If you want some of that global presence, we saw how important that was in game number 1 with the Talia Weaver as well, being able to really make it difficult for you to actually get cross map plays against it, as the Jarvan is going to be the option. Now, I would imagine, yeah, I was going to say the Rumble. You just get a little bit of that hot pot combo going. And we
Mhm.
talked about the Wombo combo in game number 1. It seems fitting that a Wombo combo, hot pot combo will come out here in game number 2.
And unfortunately, we don't have another option to increase the hot pot even more so because I think Quirky sort of helps a little bit of a hot pot, but it does not appear that it is in the list for
Nico?
bots to choose between, unfortunately, though.
Nico could be an option if they want to add, some spice to it, some herbs and such.
True.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like outside of maybe some AoE from the Varus or something, like there aren't a lot of those AD carries still left. Yanara probably the best one to go with this hot pot combo, but it's banned away. As I would say, this is probably one of the best mid laners you can go into this combo. You've got double AP solo lane threats, and so Galio going to be the natural answer into those. But it also means that because the Azir was taken away, Galio will be going into the top lane. So it's been a little bit since we've seen this counter utilized against the Rumble. A lot of people are just opting for things like the Scion instead. But because Scion isn't available for this draft, it does mean that Galio easily the next best option.
Absolutely. And I feel like the more and more this year goes on, the more we've kind of gone back in time where I'm seeing a lot of returns to sort of old forms. Morgana's making a lot of appearances back in mid. We're
Yeah.
seeing great Lux plays, as I believe you mentioned earlier, and I've been able to cast as well. So there's it's just been a blast of the past. And seeing Galio in top is a way to reinforce that. Unfortunately, no Pantheon. I would have really loved to see more and more Pantheon. He's one of my favorite junglers for a million different reasons. I think he's kind of shares a similar role as Viego to where he doesn't necessarily reset, but Viego very much likes to sort of get that kill, get the reset, get the kill, get the reset, get the kill, get the reset. And
Yeah.
Pantheon kind of does that with a combination, but just with death instead of resetting.
So now I'm curious what we're going to be seeing from the AD carries as both of these teams opted for their top laners. I imagine after we're done here with the bans, Team A will be saving counter pick for support just to see what else they need in the wake of utility. And that means we get to see early action here on Shogo with Ezreal being the last ban. If I had to put a guess on who he would go, I don't actually hate Lucian here. I think there's a ton of space makers in the Galio, Wukong, and Azir, which can really shore up the weakness of you being a little bit more short ranged on that
Mhm.
Lucian. Corky is also an option, but I just saw he's actually not a pickup here. So can't go the Corky. I think
Unfortunately.
Lucian is a good option. Sivir could be nice if you want to play a little bit more into the engage that your team has, but I'm wrong, actually. It is just going to be the support pickup. Nico here. So that further spice on the hot pot actually denied Koryak.
Absolutely. And we do have Varus on the table as well, who I think is a great blind ADC pick for them to go into. But we do have the support. So we know that this is going to be Nico and we can capitalize on this. And something to keep in mind here is there's only 7 picks for them to choose between, especially for the bot lane, and 4
Yeah.
of them were banned out. So our pool has gotten limited really, really quickly. And we're going to turn that into another Rakan. And I'm very glad that he's on the roster. Rakan's another one of those ones that I really, really love to see because he's got he's got a deceptively high skill floor, and these players definitely know how to play him.
I feel like Sivir could be a good option for both of these teams. Just that on the hunt, providing a lot of value for both of these comps that really want to focus more on engaging. As Corky locked in, but I don't think that's a champion. Yeah, I'm looking at the sheet right now. You can't lock in Corky, Team B, Array. You're not allowed to do that. Oh, okay. I just got word you can. Maybe the okay. Maybe the pool is booked. Okay, I just got word from our producer. You can pick one champion outside of the pool. So it looks like both of these teams are going to be going outside of the pools with their AD carry picks. Corky locked in, and then Caitlyn going to be the answer here for Team A. So the complete opposite of Lucian. We were thinking short range. We're going the longest range possible.
Absolutely. And this is now a team shared hot pots. I think Corky is sort of the mini hot pot here together with Rumble and the
Yeah.
Equalizer. So being able to combo that will do a whole bunch of work, and it gives a lot of armor shred to the other side. I really, really love to see Corky. I feel like Corky, and I don't have any numbers necessarily to back this up because I'm not sure how this matchup is supposed to go, but I feel like Corky, at least early on, is at a bit of a disadvantage into Caitlyn just because of the sheer range. Because Corky very much so,
Yeah.
like he wants you to get in your face. You're like, go ahead, get in my face. And then he just shreds your armor and absolutely murders you. And Caitlyn doesn't have to worry about that. She can just sort of spend plenty of time kiting, especially in conjunction with Nico. That's going to be a lot of poke, back and forth
Right.
between Caitlyn and Nico over and over.
And that's going to be a lot of prio that comes with it. Because, like you said, we're expecting Nico and Caitlyn to be the dominant factor of this laning phase, really push Corky and Rakan under their tower as frequently as possible. So, this does mean that if they can get some of that poke down, if they can, force Array under his tower constantly, you get some priority from the Galio. You get Wukong after level 6, and you could just start looking for those dives. Obviously, one way to circumvent that is to go for the swaps, which maybe make it a little bit more tough, especially if you are on that red side. But I do have to shout out that being a possibility. Everything else, though, I feel like really builds around this, Caitlyn. You do have a lot of space making, like we talked about. We said it would be good for something like a Lucian, but it's good for all AD carries. When you've got that shuffle, when you've got that Cyclone, and when you've got the Galio, there are so many tools that make it difficult to actually get on top of Shogo. And I feel like Shogo is going to be an AD carry who makes the most of that, right? We've seen this guy, when the team plays around him, when he has comps that are focused around giving him the time in team fights to lay down the damage, giving him the ability to really be that carry that we all know he can be, he really thrives. So I think this is a comp tailor-made for the Caitlyn. And if he can just have good conditions going out of the early game, it should be a pretty clean match for them, because most of the engage coming out here from Team B can be disengaged from Team A.
Absolutely. And Team A is looking for a bit more juggling, a little bit of CC, this time adding Azir to that mix with their ultimate. And then now they still have Cyclone in order to play with. They've got Galio to turn that into a lot of different taunts. And then, of course, Caitlyn to sort of sit there and just place traps down. I think that's going to be something really, really important, as
It's a
Quax
lot
has
of
pointed out
lockdown for
here.
those traps as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and layering. There's a good amount of layering, and because going into that, you've also got Nico, and they've got a lot of different options for starting these fights. They can start the fight with Azir and a great ultimate. They can start the fight with Cyclone. They can start the fight with Galio. They can start the fight with not Caitlyn, with Nico. Caitlyn's probably the only one who I guess technically can't start the fight.
yeah,
Unless
don't
she gets
start
a
the fight
really
as
lucky
Caitlyn.
trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Back in the day, AP Caitlyn was a thing in jungle. I've
I
seen it
feel like
once or twice.
listen. Vi is not on the enemy team. Okay, this is not Arcane. She's not going to fall for chasing a Caitlyn. All right, we have to get that out of the way. It's just not going to happen. But I do think that is a pretty good point, Koryak. They've got a lot of engage tools, but they've also got a lot of ability to just say no to fights. I feel like this is a very selective comp that we have here from Team A, where if the conditions aren't right and Team B are saying, okay, let's get this hot pot combo down, let's layer these ultimates, and let's try to get any advantages that come with it. Team A have the ability to just say, no, I don't want to. I'm shuffling you away. I'm cycloning to create distance. I'm doing all of these things to keep you away from me because my conditions for this fight are not good. So I think that ability to pick and choose is something that I really want to see utilized here from Team A, which requires them to be first to the fights a lot of the times. We talked about this in game number 1. Usually the first person to the fight is going to be the one that ends up winning the fight and reaping the rewards, usually being that objective that is in conjunction with the scrapping. So I think that really is emphasized with these comps. And I'm really, really curious to see which of these teams, with that prior knowledge of game number 1, are able to actually take the proactivity, get that tempo lead, and start digging in the trenches first.
Absolutely. And when I look at Team B just a little bit more, and I'm going over the team comp here in my head, something I think that's important to watch out for, other than just talking about the positioning, which is going to be so important, is if Team A does manage to step sort of a toe out of line, we've got a lot of tools to capitalize on it, especially with the great ball delivery system, with the flag and drag into the ball delivery. We'll be able to suck people in and sort of change that tempo back in Team B's favor. The equalizer will be something to watch out for. That'll sort of push people in, especially if you're doing something like the autocon, where the range, where the area gets very, very limited. Rumble is going to love that area in conjunction with the Cataclysm and just sort of everything else. And they've got to keep an eye out for, Rakan. And then I think the biggest thing to watch out for is Team B's Corki. We've got Shogo on Corki, which is something to keep an eye out for sure. But his positioning is going to be so important. If he's able to get in the right spot, he's going to be able to melt just about whoever he wants if he can get the range off. But with that being said, Quacks, my friend, we're going to go into a little bit of a break, everybody, about 2 to 3 minutes, hopefully. I don't know what the spec delay is exactly, so keep an eye on the timer, but we'll be right back. We're trying to get the ads out of the way before the action starts. See ya. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for hanging out as we move into game number 2. No early shenanigans just quite yet. However, Mixture may have just overstepped his welcome a little bit, but it is still a recon, so I doubt we're going to see anything in this. And a quick correction, I did call Quirky Shogo. That is incorrect. Shogo is on the other side. I got confused. I'm not a smart man, Quacks.
No, you're good. I mean, it happens, right? So we're going into game number 2. Shogo is on the Caitlyn, and there are actually 2 Caitlyn's. So, whoa, look at that. As
I'm sure that's normal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. As Cryojin is morphed into one, but honestly, this is what we're kind of expecting from the bot lane, where Shogo and Cryojin are mostly going to have the priority, and I love the consistency with some of these coaches to just draft strong pushing bot lanes with Wukong, right? You don't necessarily need him to have that activeness pre-level 6. You just need to give him the safety to get level 6. So I think that these are the lanes that will help out you in this game. The onus really is on Aeon Crystal to make as much use of that pre-level 6 as humanly possible, as we're already seeing this 2v2 trading really come out in earnest.
Absolutely, and we pointed out how important that poke is going to be, and the fact that Mixture missed his Q is really, really unfortunate because, you know, like I said before, that Recon Q is deceptively powerful. That heal on him can do a lot of work, and while he did walk into that bush with a lot of confidence, he took quite the pounding, and Shogo, or sorry, not Shogo, the Nico, Cryojin, there you go, there's the name. Cryojin has done a very good job of dodging these Qs, knowing how important they are, and just not allowing Recon to get that all-powerful heal, forcing Corki already to have to use a pot.
And also forced Corki to use that barrier. We saw heal as well from Mixture, so they're down a pretty significant amount of sums. And what you're seeing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is basically what is to be expected for the next 10 minutes. They need a hero to bail them out, and that hero has to be Aeon Crystal at this point. We can see that Jarvan is rotating down toward the bot side, but there is that ward in the tri-bush, so Shogo and Cryojin should be aware of any shenanigans being brought to their attention via the Jarvan, and that just makes it really hard to bail Array and Mixture out of this space and punish them for this aggressiveness.
Absolutely, and sort of looking at this though too, we've got both junglers going to be spending their downtime here once again in the bot lane, knowing how important this is to sort of get an advantage on either side. If Shogo's able to pick up an early kill, that'll do a lot of work for them, and it'll hurt Corki, you know, a whole bunch. But the same thing could happen on the other side. Corki able to pick up a kill will help sort of mitigate a lot of that. They'll still have a lot of troubles into Shogo, into the Caitlyn, but that kill will do a lot for them, especially once they hit that team fight phase. It looks like Jarvan's clear is a bit faster here than the Wukong's, as he's already moved over into the Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, that extra attack speed plus the passive is going to be enough to give him that crab over. Doesn't look for a play on bot side. Doesn't want to spend the time to do it, as he does want to get toward the top lane ASAP. Maybe a dive opportunity available there, as K is extremely low.
Absolutely, and
wait, did he steal away the crab? He did. He double crabbed him.
Oh no, okay, that's a little bit devastating to worry about. That I thought he was going to be able to get that off last time, but that did not happen. U13 getting absolutely chased down. 1 or 2 more shots are all going to take, but it looks like the clone did come in clutch. So ultimately, he's able to escape, and Jarvan's only able to pick up maybe 1 set of minions, but they're not there just quite yet. They're 1 set of camp.
We can see Aeon is making his way toward the top side, but the wave is pretty thin. There's one crashing under the tower, so the opportunity to actually look for a dive is extremely narrow, and that window will close without anyone jumping toward it. So no dive to be had, but still a big camp lead coming out here for Aeon. This is what we kind of saw in game number 1 as well, where he managed to take away those tier 2 Krugs and then get that over you. And now he double crabs it, gets back to lane with the Caulfields. Meanwhile, you is still on the map, so the Wukong hasn't even reset yet. And we talk about tempo, and it's really in the lead so far for this Jarvan.
Absolutely, and the same can be said here on the side with Shoko and the Nico continue to poke it up, but they are slowly losing it because some of the pokes have been good back and forth between this Corki, between Mixture and Ari, doing a good chunk, but still, as soon as they get some sort of lead, Caitlyn's able to get 2 AAs and just turn it absolutely around, so it's hard to deal with. But this is a bit of a sustaining lane. The biggest thing is Mixture needs to land those Qs. Every single one of those Qs is going to be so valuable to buying them more and more time, which is why we've seen a lot of effort effort on Cryogen specifically to dodge them time and time again to continue that tempo in Team A's side. Because remember, Team A was the side that held the tempo for the entire game of the last time, and now it's up to Team B to turn that around.
It absolutely is. Okay, good engage here coming out by K. We don't expect a lot of action toward this top side. Galio more so used as like a blanket pick to try and calm down this rumble in the early game as Samikin shoved away.
Samikin activating the shockwave and a flash by in the middle of the time. They were in quite the sticky position here with Toasty, but just not able to capitalize on it, not able to follow it up. Azir not having quite the damage that they need, needing a little more time to scale, but getting super, super close. And so we do see what Toasty can do on the Azir, which I believe is different. I think it was Samikin specifically on the Azir last game, so it's nice to see the change up.
And we can see now swap being commenced here. By Team B, getting Array in that position where he can actually farm in the lane. Koryak, congratulations to him, as K, using that dash though, has the flash, is going to have to use it. And yeah, that's just a loss of a summoner spell. Not too consequential as he has that level 6, and that's really the cooldown that we have to look at. As in the next minute and a half, those grubs will be up. That'll really make Shogo and Cryogen just that much more annoying and that much more strong in the game. If they are able to get this push on top of grubs, that first tower is going down real quickly.
Absolutely. And what a great thing to point out, Quacks. We were talking about beforehand on Pantheon, even though he's not in this game, he's sort of that global presence, but Hero's entrance for Galio does that for him in a lot of different ways. It's very, very defensive. I think it's a little bit harder to land than Pantheon's, sort of entrant Pantheon's ultimates, just because of the weird delay that happens with it, but it's still definitely possible, especially in conjunction. So we've got U13, and we've got a lot of movement control here on the other side. So, he can even, Key can even start off with a bit of a taunt and then turn that into a heroic's interest if he's got someone next to him to provide that 5-man knock-up if everybody's close enough. And for the most part, a lot of Team B is going to be gathered around this Cataclysm, so it gives a little bit more oomph to the heroic's entrance.
It absolutely does. That Hero's entrance is just such a valuable tool to have in the river. Makes it really difficult for Team B to actually fully commit, which is exactly what we said their comp wanted to do, especially once they all hit level 6, which is what's starting to happen, right? You can see that Crimson, Aeon, and Samikin have all unlocked their R keys and will be trying their best to use that in conjunction with one another around these neutrals. But if there's just a Hero's entrance to stop them every single time, then it really feels like you aren't getting the efficiency that you want outside of this composition.
One of the things I am a little worried about right now is we still have Cryogen and Shogo in the bot lane, so no rotation, about 7 minutes and 4 seconds on the clock, which means we've got a minute until the objective is going to come up, that Void Grub, which is going to be so important to watch out for. But maybe Shogo here was hoping they could get their hands on a plate. There is only one plate remaining, which shows sort of the tempo that they've had and just been able to sort of, I won't say dominate the bot lane, but have a very commanding presence. We did get the pickup of the Drake, which means that Team A is free to continue their march up top in order to sort of contest this objective, unless the goal is just to give it up and take the tower bottom, which is also an option.
But remember what we talked about in the draft, being first to the objective really is a marker for who will end up winning the fight that follows and getting the objective in the end. And so far, as it stands, Team B have really dug in on that side of the map. You can see that deep ward near the red buff. You can see that Aeon also spotting out you on the top side on his Raptors. So Team B having plenty of information on where Team A is, also knowing that both Shogo and Mixture, or Cryogen rather, are on the spot side. So they don't actually have the Caitlyn, they don't have the Nico, and Toasty has it in his veins that he wants to go in.
Toasty able to do a good amount of damage and knock up the other side as Cyclone comes in, double Cyclone, in order to lock down Toasty. Samikin trying to pick up some of these kills. A lot of back and forward as he does get taken down. Toasty in absolute top form, sitting at 1-0, and that's going to be our first kill as Rakan goes in, the Equalizer goes in, the Pop Blossom goes in, but it's just going to buy a little more time. Cryogen is in danger. They need to get some sort of distance, but it's just not going to happen as Shogo is left here to hold the bag. Shogo is left here to deal the damage. However, Crimson has taken a lot. You've got to watch out for Mixture, though, as once again we go back in. The flash comes out for Shogo, and a lesser ADC would have not gotten out of that, but at the very least, Shogo did.
And really good timing there from Crimson. I mean, he waits until Nico has expended all of her cooldowns to really commit and use that flash to follow up on the kill for Cryogen. So they end up going 1 for 0, looking for Shogo. They can't find him, but they do get both summoners out of that Caitlyn. So the ability for Shogo to play up like he has been all game with basically that impunity is significantly reduced. They'll probably shove in this wave, and then I would expect he looks for a back. He doesn't try his luck on the turret. Speaking of turrets, it looks like Team B are going to get a whole lot of assistance in taking those, as they are the ones that end up claiming the grubs, denying it from the Caitlyn like we said they needed to.
Absolutely, and it's a great thing for them to pick up for a lot of different reasons, you know, other than just the denial too, because it can also help their pushing when they do eventually make it to tower. But as we've seen in other large tournaments, sort of like, you know, LTA North, the grand finals for that, is it doesn't matter if you have Void Grubs if you can't make it to the tower, so maybe that's kind of what they're hoping for in order to play it off. But as soon as you make it there, they're able to capitalize on that advantage in a lot of different ways. We're sitting at 1-1 at about 10 minutes, so a much slower game than I believe the last one had gone. Objectives favoring really no one. A lot of back and forward, with Team B finally able to get their hands on something early on.
Yeah, it's 1 for 1 on the objective department and also 1 for 1 on the kill department. So far, no team really etching out the other. What is making the difference is in that plate gold, because Shogo has basically taken this turret alongside Cryogen. A lot of that gold difference, I would imagine, is on the Caitlyn. So despite losing both sums, they have a BF sword. They are really close to that first item and can easily be a threat in those fights. I would imagine if they can get Shogo to his first item by the time this dragon comes up in about 90 seconds, a teammate will really like that. They'll also really like this, though.
Again, able to pull Shogo, or sorry, Sammy, where they do not want to be, picking up a second kill. This one going to Wukong, so diversifying that gold is going to be so important, and Wukong can do a lot. U13 specifically, we're looking for a little bit of tower dive. Rakan activating ultimate. Pop Blossom is going to buy them just a little bit of time, but Shogo's taking a whole bunch of damage, as well as an ignite, trying to lock down Chrism. Chrism does finally die as Key goes in for the knock up, taking down the other side. Everybody's absolutely falling to pieces as Mixture struggling to get away from this, but this is a Rakan, so I don't think he's going to have too much of an issue.
And honestly, even though he goes down, I feel like Shogo could have played that about as well as he possibly could have. He didn't have Flash, he didn't have Ghost, he didn't have a lot of resources as K is going in. He cancels the back, but they're not going to commit for the kill. They just want the tower.
Toasty, once again, looking for a kill, but this time on the Corki. Can he close the distance? I don't think he has an ultimate. No, he's about halfway due to his ultimate. U13 trying to lock down the Rakan, which is not what he wants to do. Crimson probably going to run right into him. I think they know he's back there, but I don't think they want to play with that.
Nope, they're not going to test their luck. Yu is just going to sneak away behind enemy lines there, as first tower going to go over to Team A, to no one's surprise. Despite not having the grubs, the work that Shogo and Cryogen did on those plates early on in the laning phase was enough to break it down before the grubs really became a factor. And I agree with your worries a little bit that you propped up earlier, Koryak, where this is a team that is pretty short range, is going to have a lot of difficulty making use of those grubs. I feel like the thing we're going to be seeing with them is they get a team fight win, and then they use the grubs to Shogo.
Going in, locking down Shogo. The shockwave coming in, able to do decent damage, but can they follow it up? Locking down this Caitlyn's going to be so hard to do. Toasty is here. Rakan going back in. Mixture trying to lock him down. It looks like we might finally have a dead Shogo. Caitlyn going down as the Jarvan tries to snip out another kill, but only is going to pick up a bit of damage here from the Nico from Cryogen.
Trying to bait in a possible engage here. Cryogen protecting his mid laner from a dive, has that Pop Blossom up in just a couple of seconds, and we saw what happens when Cryogen has that ultimate and you attempt to dive one of his carries. It does not end well, so they're not going to try their luck the second time around, but they do have control over this part of the map. Cryogen maybe overstaying is welcome, or not.
Coming in as Cryogen's able to do a good chunk of damage as that Hero's Entrance comes in to grab a kill on Mixture. He may be slippery, but he's not fast enough to avoid that Hero's Entrance. Sammy can maybe overstaying is welcome. However, we do have Aeon here to try to buy themselves a little bit of time, but it looks like the Flash Forward and the Cyclone are going to be more than enough to take down this Orianna. Samakin really struggling in game number 3, sitting at 0-3 at 13 minutes.
There ain't no Flash.
Ooh, picking up a taunt there from Key, as well as a knockup, and it's just a matter of time before they can take it
Oh,
down.
Shogo
As they're coming
again!
down. Cataclysm locking down Shogo, picking up a kill. A couple of the cracks in the armor of Team A are beginning to show, and they need to be careful so they do not lose this tempo.
And Shogo going down twice in what feels like a minute, 60 seconds, 2 deaths, and suddenly this Caitlyn is a good amount behind the curve compared to the rest of the carries in this game. Team A have been winning out on these skirmishes, and look at the damage from you. Those Qs are starting to hurt.
Absolutely. Armor Shred on both sides are doing a lot of work as Aeon is forced to flash away. Mixture looking for an angle, going over the other side. Looks like Flag and Drag is going to be good. Locking down U13. Shockwave able to pick up a shutdown. Oriana finally on the board, but can they kill the beefcake that is Galio? Galio slowly walking away, but the Armor Shred still coming in clutch. The Flash doing the exact same thing as Key is able to escape while U13 is not.
Okay, getting out there, has to use the flash like you said, Koryak, but still, you was the big prize, and Team B managed to claim that. So these carries on the side of Team A getting knocked down a little bit. Shogo, like we said, falling a couple of times in that extended trade, and then you dying at the end means that both this Caitlyn and this Wukong going to get stalled for the time being. It's just a question of what can Team B do with all of that. Crimson is sitting at 2-1 with the Rumble, trying to get that second item. Same kind of goes for Aeon, who is also 2-1. Almost about to complete that jungle quest as well. So having that advantage ahead of this Herald could be a timer Team B attempt to play on, as they do have control over that topside river. Mixture looking for a pick with that.
Absolutely, and something I think Team A is sort of struggling here with is the fact that they are on red side, which is going to be an automatic swap. Ooh, fake Shogo does get caught, but it looks like it's going to be happy for Nico in order to take up some of that, I won't say damage, but some of those resources. They should be up rather quickly, but most importantly, the fact that Shogo does not get caught is going to be so important, because they're pretty important to the team, despite the fact that they're 1-3. Remember, they have a deceptive amount of gold with taking down all the plates in the tower, plus having good CS right now. Cataclysm coming down, looking to lock down Cryogen as Rakan goes in. Mixture able to lock down Shogo. Shogo once again getting caught in an unfortunate position, and it looks like Corki is here to pick up the kill, doing so much work, able to find the range with the help of Rakan and sort of maybe get back online. They struggled in the early game, but seem to be doing much better in the teamfight phase.
Yup, it's 2 traps laid down there for Shogo in the wake of defense, but it's just the one there from Team B, and it was the one they set for the AD carry of Team A. They find their mark, and Samikin is perfectly okay. He takes a little bit of damage, but K is a tank. He is not a damage dealer on this Galio, and Team B will claim the Rift Herald now ahead of this Dragon coming up in about a minute. Really, their prize or their eyes should be set in mid and bot, trying to get that priority and be first to the objective, and they can leverage the Herald to do so.
Absolutely, and all of the macro-oriented neutral objectives, both Shelly and the Void Grubs have gone squarely in the hands of Team B, which I think are going to be the more powerful ones, at least early on in the game. Root picked up there by Mixture. Mixture doesn't care too much. I think he's just trying to buy a little bit of time, but U13 should have plenty of time to get away with the plants. Drake, like you said, is coming up about 40 seconds-ish on the clock, 30 seconds now, I guess. And we're really looking for the position. We are getting a little bit of a TP in, so it looks like Team A really wants to capitalize on this and get this third Drake, get them to that soul point.
And now we're kind of looking at these breakpoints here from Team B. Aeon going back there, getting the Black Cleaver, so that Shred is really going to come in handy against this top side of Team A, who will be frontlining for Shogo and Cryogen. It really means that Array will be able to lay down more damage as this Corki is... Aeon is going in.
Flag and Drag able to not pick up the Wukong, not Cyclone, that's a clone, doing a lot of work to buy time for Wukong, sort of as a free escape. Aeon looking for an angle here on the Pop Blossom on the Nico, but it's just not going to happen. U13 does finally get caught out as the Cataclysm comes in, and they pick up the Execute. Now Key sort of left here holding the bag. Flag and Drag once again coming in, Redemption coming in for the other side, as it looks like Galio is going to get taken down by the Armor Shred of Corki and the Flag and Drag on Jarvan.
And now they're going to Herald, they're going to Dragon. They will stop the soul point from Team A. And I love that aggressiveness from the side of Aeon Crystal. Immediately gets 2 items, knows that he has Mixture behind him, knows that he has Samikin behind him. That ball delivery system that the Jarvan has means that you can walk up to the enemy team with impunity. And he walks like he owns the Rift, and Team A are on his property. They get kicked out, and Team B win out. They will claim the dragon, like I said. This game really starting to turn around. It's a minute until Otacon. That Herald no longer in the back pocket of Team B. So whoever really controls the mid lane, you have to think can move up toward that topside river and start laying down the vision.
This test really being sort of a limit test when it comes to a lot of the consistency of each side. Team A very much struggling in this one, not having the advantages that they had prior, being a little bit behind. Aeon looking for an angle to try to lock down Shogo, I'm sorry, fake Shogo, as the Cataclysm comes down, but so does the Pop Blossom on the other side. Flag and Drag to try to lock down Toasty, but it looks like he's not locked into there. It's going to be the other way around as Shogo tries to get an ultimate off, but only gets caught there. Further trouble. Redemption coming down on top of Toasty. Double kill. K able to pick up a decent amount of gold, quietly sitting at 4-1 now. Our score 12-8, Quacks.
And Shogo can only watch. The cop cannot arrest the perpetrators who murdered all of his friends, and so it will be a 3-for-1 in favor of Team B. They lose their jungler, so they won't immediately turn onto that spawning Otacon, but see Samikin is on the top side. He's completely left alone, so he can maybe threaten this tower. Array doing a similar thing in mid, but Shogo is going to be able to put a stop to that as well. So Team B, even though they can't rip the dragon right after that fight, they can set up for when their jungler respawns and then keep looking for these picks and then transition it into the objective. I love the discipline and the patience coming out from them in this game.
Fake Shogo in. Sorry, fake U13 now as Nico tries to scout out a couple
it was
of
I,
things.
Nico.
We do pick up a tower. Yeah, it's more than just counting the minions in this one. It's counting the champions for sure. Cryogen is very much like to play with low healths of, say, when Shogo has been picked up or killed or whatnot. Really trying to play into that to a lot of baits. We have Otacon up, which both sides are posturing forward in order to get their hands on, and taking down that T1 is going to be really important for that. Cryogen does pick up a knockup, but it should not matter too much. Nico's just kind of happy to absorb those.
Yeah, Nico trying to wrestle the pressure back on this Otacon, using the range from Caitlyn autos to attempt to take down that control ward. That's a good use of it, but unfortunately Team B, they've got that push in bot. It requires Team A to back on off, and now they're trying to push them off.
Flag and Drag comes down, unfortunately not able to pick up too many as the clone sort of sticks around over here, but we do still have Otacon on the table, and I don't think the other side can really see it. We're looking for a fight over here. Looks like Corky is going to get dove, but the Equalizer is going to come down. That's going to be AoE after AoE as Caitlyn tries to pick up a kill, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. Shogo got his ultimate blocked there by by Krenza, able to buy themselves more time as it looks like Mixture goes in, looking for the knock up there on Key on the Galio, trying to lock him down. The trap is good for Shogo, but Aeon Crystal still has plenty of health to play with as we're looking about a minute and 40 seconds on the Drake, and unfortunately the TP is good for K, and so is the ultimate there on the side of Azir. They're able to do a good chunk of damage, but Corky able to follow it up. We're into a little bit of 1-for-1 trade. TP coming in, Flag and Drag able to catch one. Cataclysm going to the other side, locking down 2, but that tower still does a lot of damage, taking them down. U13 actually in trouble as the heroic entrance comes in for the save, keeping them alive. Shogo dishing out the damage. Now Mixture on the chopping block, but just barely able to get away. And that actually turned out in the advantage of Team A. A 2-for-3 trade. It was looking very, very dicey, very, very choppy, but the control was so great on Shogo.
And a massive shout out there to K, by the way. I mean, he TPs away, narrowly averts the knock up there from Mixture. That would have been a cancel and almost certainly been a kill to follow. But he doesn't just TP away and go back to base. No. This guy hero entrances back into the fight, saves his teammate from the burn by the Rumble, and makes it a winning fight for Team A. So yes, you're correct, Koryak. They do get more kills in that exchange. It was by the skin of their teeth, but hey, they'll take what they can get. Otacon still up, Dragon up in 20, and Mixture wants blood.
Mixture trying to go in as the equalizer tries to stop off the escape of Shogo, and it is good as the Caitlyn goes down. K is able to escape, but that's a consolation prize, as it looks like we're gonna get the flag and drag on top of the Nico, who once again is playing with the low health bug of the clone, but still, that's gonna be the ADC. Shogo really struggling in game number 2, despite such a great lead they had previously.
Yeah, a lot of those early turret plates, I think, padding the gold difference between these two AD carries. That and Array, for most of this game, hasn't been the beneficiary of a lot of these kills. Now Cryogen is going to get killed.
Cryogen picking up a Cataclysm immediately to the face, unable to escape, and another kill going to the side of Team B as they just sort of quietly pick up kill after kill. Something to note, though, is they're actually behind on gold despite being up on kills and having a lot of these macro objectives, all these powerful stuff, but now Aeon maybe overstaying his welcome, going to run into U13 and Toasty, completely isolated. Mixture just cannot make it in time. However, we do have Flag and Drag over the wall. It is going to be good, but can they follow it up? Flag's going to do the exact same thing. Redemption coming down, trying to buy a little more time for Aeon. Aeon goes over the wall once again, but immediately into a stun, into a taunt there by Key, gonna get taken down. Semikin trying to follow up with a lot of damage, but it looks like Team B is finally starting to fall to pieces. Team A coming online.
Team A now pursuing onto Samikin. It's gonna be a flash!
Ooh, Toasty able to grab another kill, doing it consistently over and over and over. Toasty very comfortable with Azir. He has the hands and he has the plays over and over and over, buying more time for his team, and this is actually going to turn into an autocon for Team A.
Yeah, Otacon, Team A will pick it up. Baron is also available. Aeon isn't spawning for another 5 seconds, so the jungler is still down, and you've got Caitlyn, you've got Azir. You've actually got 2 Caitlyn's, so that's more than enough damage and a more than enough burst to take down the Baron alongside that Otacon. The top side belongs to Team A. And this is such a good bounce back from what we initially saw. The gold is back in their palms. Really, the thing they need now is to reign control of those dragons that, for the past 10 minutes, have been owned by Team B. We see Team B, I feel like the struggle has been trying to get these picks and not overcommit at the same time. You're short range, you don't have a lot of poke, so you have to pursue these champions. Sometimes that requires you walking into places that might not be warded, face checking into more members of Team A, and it seems like that has been the main problem here so far, as now it's going to be even worse. Baron going to mean that a lot of these waves in control of Team A, you're going to be forced to face check a lot of these bushes, and that has been your downfall and will continue to be so if you aren't careful for the next few minutes while this is active.
Absolutely, which is why both sides are posturing really hard to get their hands on this vision or to maintain vision on either side. Multiple ping ports from each side coming out. That siege power for Baron gonna be so powerful as the equalizer comes in, locking down Toasty. He may have gotten himself some time, but it's just not gonna be enough.
My God!
The Cataclysm able to lock down Cryogen. Lots of damage back and forth. Key going in, looking for the damage, but he can only take so much to the face, as that's gonna be a 1-for-2 trade in the favor of Team B.
A Team B, with a little bit of help from their tower, they are able to withstand the damage, withstand the wombo combo from Team A. As Shogo just snipes Mixture out of the air!
Oh my God. A lot of shenanigans going on as Crimson comes in,
This
trying to
Caitlyn
look
does
for
so
that
much
damage.
damage.
He's got a lot going for him as Key goes back in, trying to buy some more time. Lockdown on Semikin. It's going to be double taunt, but we're going to go into a bit of a Zonia's as Key falls down, going to get taken down underneath tower, but it looks like Shogo able to pick up an ultimate on the other side, turning into a triple kill for him on his side. He was down on kills, but now he is 10-5 on Caitlyn.
And somebody call the police. That's what you would say, but it is the police that end up causing a massacre as Shogo gets 3 kills. The Caitlyn now 10, 5, and 1 will be able to reset and get their 4th item of the game. He is almost full build Koryak. And I love the rebound that we have seen here from the Caitlyn. We talk about Team A holistically, but it really feels like it has been Shogo in this game. Starting off the game really nicely with that push in bot, then dying twice in a minute, going 1-3. But ever since then, he has found his moments. He has found his angles. The team has been peeling for him. That top side that we mentioned could buy the space has been doing just that. And it's impossible for Team B to cover that distance.
Absolutely, and that's something I pointed out there with the Corki. We talked about the range and how important it's going to be, and this Corki's just really struggled to get in there. When they have, they've done a lot of work, and you know they are sitting at 6-3, so that's nothing to scoff at for sure. But you know, Team A very much so using what advantages they have in order to irk out a victory. Always great to see. This is what I was talking about in the first game, in the first draft, how important it is to remember what it is that your team can do and continue to capitalize on that, because it's very easy to forget when you're in the heat of the moment, and these split-second decisions make such a massive difference. And that started out so well for Team B. That's equalizer came down, absolutely isolating Toasty, and somehow Team A was able to turn it around.
Hey, going bird hunting a little bit here as Mixture is really in the thick of things. He will be seen by the Empowered Blast plant, or the Empowered Vision plant, I should say.
Does run up safety to Aeon, so we should have plenty of time, as it looks like we're going to pick up Drake here on Team A, seeing that the jungle is going to be in the top jungle. So unfortunately, that dragon's going to fall completely uncontested, picking up the third Drake for Team A.
Yep, Soul Point unlocked in Team B on a little bit of a timer to make things happen. Baron in less than 2 minutes, and like you said, all of Team B, we're chilling around the top side of the map. So this is their time to lay down vision. This is their time to be the ones setting up a trap, looking for Shogo, looking for any sort of advantage that they can get in the meantime. Baron buff has worn off here for Team A, so those waves are in a state where they can actually be pushed back by Team B.
Absolutely, and you know, keeping the Void Grubs out of the hands of Shogo, out of the hands of Caitlyn has been so important. U13 actually going into the background. Hero's Interest doing the exact same thing, trying to lock out the Corki falling to pieces as Shogo picks up another kill. Toasty going over the wall, looking for some blood of his own, but now they have advantage when they finally want to get their hands on this Baron.
And Shogo, I believe with one headshot, did like 80% of Array's HP. This Caitlyn is not playing around. This is such a strong champion on the map, and unless Team B can find some way to get on top of her, I don't see a way they can come back into this game. You could try killing the front line, but if you're all dead in an attempt to get to this Caitlyn, it's not gonna matter, right? She will still be standing, and I feel like what makes matters worse, Shogo is still holding on to that flash, so he has that defense innately. Baron, though, going to be the big test coming up in about 30 seconds here.
Absolutely, between the flash and all of the peel that their team provides, Kay's just done a phenomenal job, just absolutely subverting a lot of these expectations, picking up massive taunt, massive stun. Look at the damage on Aeon Crystal as he's already down to less than half HP.
Oh,
the team is gonna be good as Kay is able to pick up a kill with the help of Shogo right before the Baron spawns.
Yup, no jungler, and that was a little bit of BM there from the death stance on Aeon because it delays the damage set onto you by, I believe, 6 seconds. It was just 6 slow seconds of bleeding out and burning down from Shogo's damage that prevents the one shot, but still ends up killing you. So Baron in tow with Team A, now pushing in top and mid. K, I like this. Going into the mid lane with like a 4-1 slip because he has that hero's entrance. If Team B decide to overload on the top side, Galio can easily just join up with them and make it a 5v5.
Absolutely. Now the sieging has truly begun. Caitlyn's put down plenty of traps, buying them space and time if they need to retreat. The T3 are going down rather quickly, as well as this last remaining inhib in the top lane. The cannon should be plenty to do that as the T3 mid goes down as well.
Cryogen!
As Cryogen's able to get a 4-man ultimate Cyclone. Redemption, Hero's Entrance coming in left and right. The layering is non-stop. There's still a lot of damage here on the side of Team B, with Shogo quietly sitting here in the background doing a lot. And that's going to be a 2-for-1 trade, surprisingly in the favor of Team B, but the sieging is still continuing.
And we're going to try and see Team B. They're looking for something.
Aeon looking for an angle here on Toasty. Toasty once again going down with Shogo completely untouched. Gonna try to get the damage here on Aeon. It's just not gonna be enough as there's only 2 remaining. However, it looks like Crimson gonna fall to the power of that Caitlyn, and now Ari's gonna worry about it as well as Kay goes in trying to look out and trying to find the damage as the ultimate still takes him out. He may have thought he was safe, but he was not.
And Shogo, he's just going deer hunting at this point. He is out in the wilderness, and he's taking on all comers. He's the only one in the base, but he won't be the only one for long. Kay going to rebound from the base, now full HP, TPing back, joining with his AD carry, and it looks like Aeon, Samikin, mixture now, maybe looking for something.
Okay, maybe overstaying. Welcome. He is pretty tanky, but he's got to worry about a lot. We do have U13 sort of waiting in the bush here for them, and it looks like Aeon does sort of suss that out and feel that something's coming, and they do not want to get taken down beforehand because we've got the all-important soul point coming up here in about 30 seconds, Quacks.
Yep, this would be Soul for Team A, and it's Chemtech, right? We talk about the importance of this front line and how important it is to actually get that burst onto them, but that basically means that you're never getting the burst onto them. Chemtech is so good for keeping them alive, and it's also just so good for keeping Shogo alive, right? Which is your main target. So, yeah, it feels like this really is the only thing Team A need in order to close this game out and get that second W of the block. Team B all on the bot side, but it's a very dark map. They are walking in blind.
Drake already down to about half HP.
Oh my God, it's gone.
For sure, as Wukong goes in, Cataclysm doing the exact same thing. Equalizer trying to get that hot pot off and going. Lots of damage back and forth, but Team A looking in absolutely great shape. Toasty in a little bit of trouble. Gonna pick up a redemption greatly. Should help him keep him alive. As it looks like Shogo picking up a triple kill on the other side, and now they're on
Penta
the hunt.
maybe.
They want to pick up another kill. They want to go for this full ace. They want this Penta, but U13's gonna pick up an insane amount of damage. Heroes entrance coming in, trying to buy a little bit of time for U13. Looks like it is going to be good as Samikin gets caught unawares in a bad spot underneath the tower and should get taken down here with the power of Shogo. And it looks like Toasty's going for a full end.
It's an unofficial Penta there for Shogo, and Toasty with a little bit of a fancy combo there just to style on Team B will end the game with that teleport into the base. And what a recovery from Team A. We were getting really worried because of how proactive that Jarvan was, that he had put this game out of reach from the scaling advantages of Team Shogo. Honestly, I feel like is partially what we should call him, because both games this guy has been popping off. He has been going absolutely crazy. We were questioning the Caitlyn a little bit, right? He had that kind of mid-game slump where he fell behind a little bit compared to Array, but that plate gold early is what managed to keep him afloat, give him all these other chances to get back into the game, and he took those chances and he ran away with them, ended up popping off late game on the Kate, getting that full build and one-shotting the frontliners of Team B. So really good stuff from him. And going into game number 3, the question is, can they get the 3-0 on the day?
Absolutely, and I think they're going to be trying to shoot for it for sure. Shogo having a 19-5 appearance in that game number 2 did a lot of work, but you know, no man is a team by himself, and I think it's important here to point out that K did an insane amount of work, a lot of juking back and forward, a lot of knockups, a lot of stuns, a lot of taunts, just doing a lot of work, providing that super crazy, not just peel, but acting as a true tank, getting in the front lines, distracting people, while Shogo just picks up kill after kill after kill. But the same thing can be said with Cryogen, as Cryogen put in a lot of work too, especially early on, but those Pop Blossoms also won them plenty of fights, having a lot of great appearances. And same thing with Toasty. Toasty did a lot of work. He caught Orianna, he caught Samikin a whole bunch and pretty much shut him down for the entire game, so it turned into quite the domination by Team A, despite the great start by Team B. Either way, we're going to go into another break or so, should be about 10 minutes or so for the coaches to sort of talk or yell at everyone, whoever it is, but make sure to be right back because we're not going anywhere, and we've got another game coming up, Quex. Alrighty, Quacks, here we're going in, and we're already getting hot dropped into draft. Quick reminder, sides have already switched once again. Team A, once again, back on the blue side. Team B, now on the red side. Couple of bands and picks are already here, Quacks. What are you thinking?
And right now, already a little bit of a departure from what we've been seeing. Obviously, we've
Mhm.
got the Oriana, we've got the Rumble, but no Jarvan to be joined up this time. Instead, it is a Kiana, which really shifts the focus from the solo laners and the bot lane more so over toward that jungle, because Kiana, a very high economy jungler that wants to get those kills, wants to get those resources, and wants to look for those angles. So I do wonder how the switch up is going to affect Team A, because we very clearly saw them in game number two with this similar top side of the Oriana and the Rumble, their solo laners that they chose for that game. They were really good at having their individual agency, but then in the late game, they were really good at buying that time and making sure that Shogo was capable of free hitting on this Caitlyn. So I think now, as we go into the second phase of Ben's Team B, obviously going for the Trundle, Ziggs, and Cassante. So a little bit of mixed range here leaves me a bit worried, but I do think for both of these teams, really what we have to be looking out for are those go buttons, right? Because Rumble, Oriana, Kiana, you can start fights out with their ultimates, but it does feel like a solid engaged support would really round out this comp. And I think the same could definitely be said for Team B, who don't really have a go button.
I do think the big difference here when we're looking at Kiana for Team A is Kiana needs to play around or in either in one of sort of the jungles around Autocon. They need a lot of walls to sort of deal with in
Yeah.
order to get a good ultimate off. So that kind of puts them in a weird position when it comes to some of these neutral objectives other than Autocon itself. So they really got to watch out for that. I do like this strategy because the whole goal is not necessarily to win, it's to get better as a team overall. And I think learning to work around Kiana and using Kiana specifically
Hmm.
can do a lot for playing into that. Because, like you said, or like I said, Kiana wants to play in the jungle. If she can get a fight off in the jungle, that's fantastic. There's so many walls to play off of.
There definitely is. I think Kiana is one of the champions where controlling the river becomes a really vital and valuable piece on the board. So again, it kind of goes back to the common theme that we've been LARPing on for basically this entire broadcast, Koryak, where it's first to the objective is the one that wins that fight. And I feel like that is still true here for game number 3. And for Kiana, it's not just about that ultimate. It's not just about creating that space, but it's also about having access to all of those elements, right? Having that water element, getting that lockdown with the stun so that the damage can be delivered here by the Oriana, by the Rumble, and by whatever Shogo decides to pick here on 5. That is going to be a extra little bit of piece that Team A really want to play for, as we do see in the second phase of bans, Team B opting for the Nico again here. So Mixture going to be piloting that one this time around. Cryogen obviously having a really good game on the Nico himself in game number 2. Team A, again, strong top side, probably looking for a weaker bot side. It will be the Nautilus, and they're going to go outside the pool and possibly go for the Jin, or I like Vayne actually against Trundle and Cassante. This is a good Vayne angle.
Absolutely, with that true damage doing so much work, but I don't think it's a bad chin angle
They
too.
don't
And it
have the
looks like we
stones.
are. It looks like we're going to lock in the Jin, which I think is going to provide some much needed long range follow up stun into Nautilus classic combination. And then you've got a lot of forward motion here to play with. So, you've got the Jin to play in the back, Nautilus to sort of play in those flex positions, kind of go back
Yeah.
and forward no matter where you need them. And then Rumble in order to do that. But what I like here on Team B is we're kind of going team AoE. We're kind of going team, I want to control a lot of these different areas between the Ziggs, between the Trundle
Six
Pillar, between the
big.
Nico Blossom. And then that's going to provide a little bit of sort of better positioning for Ezreal, because if you're able to zone off the team, off in sort of these neutral objectives, it's going to get Ezreal a lot more angles in order to shoot over
Yeah.
walls and shoot in very specific spots to sort of narrow where he needs to hit. So to kind of make sure that everything's really consistent. I do think Ezreal can be a bit of a double-edged sword to where he does a deceptive amount of damage. This isn't old Ezreal where he's just absolutely like nuking tanks and whatnot. He still does an insane amount of damage, but it's at sort of this kind of weird tempo, Quacks, and it can be hard sometimes for teams to play around that.
Yeah, I mean, Array, a player that is really comfortable on the Ezreal. I would say of all the champions I associate him with, Ezreal is probably the one that comes to mind first. But the opposite can be said for Shogo. You think about the Jinx, you think about the Lucian. Jhin is not usually his forte. We don't usually see him on some of these more weak side oriented picks. So it'll be cool to see that different side of him come out here for game number 3. And if it works, I think would be a really nice little bit of extra growth for him as a player. But I'm really looking at Team B right now with this comp. Obviously, we talk about the Ezreal, but the big thing is the Ziggs mid, right? Going up against that Orianna and Samikin, as we said so many times, good on the long range artillery mages. Ziggs does fit that bill, but is very seldom picked in the mid lane. So I do think it's just a question of how he's able to pilot this champion who has a similar style to what he's known for, but is a character that we really haven't seen him go for in the past. But I do agree with you. I think that the Ezreal damage can be a double-edged sword. I think the Ziggs is kind of in a similar boat where you need to get these champions accelerated. We talk a lot about game number 1 where Team B had a comp that didn't deal a lot of that damage. The damage profile just wasn't there. I feel like this is a comp that very much can be lacking in that damage department, but if they can get accelerated, you've got the poke from Ziggs, you've got the poke from Nico, and you've got the poke from Ezreal against basically no tanks. So that can be a really valuable thing if you can get them ahead. It's just a real big question of that early game and that mid game.
Well, and sort of looking at this, I think the poke pointing that out is going to be so important, and I think it's a good play here for Team B, especially on Samikin here on the Ziggs. You said he likes his artillery mages and he likes to play into that, and I think what he needs is a bit of a tempo reset. He sort of struggled in that game level 2 way more than he did the first game in a lot of different ways, and I think Ziggs is a good way to reset that tempo because his kit is so different. He requires you to play just a tiny bit different, even though he's still in the same category of artillery mage. This will give him a lot more range. Ziggs is a lot safer of a pick to play for sure. And I think playing to that strength is going to be really interesting. The thing I'm worried the most about is when looking at Team A's team, I feel like Trundle's going to really struggle to get in where he needs to, right? Because Trundle isn't the world's tankiest champion. He still has a lot of health regen. He's still very powerful, and that pillar is absolutely phenomenal. But I'm kind of worried that he's going to constantly run into death. There's the shockwave. There's Kiana. He's got to worry about these. There's the equalize. There's Nautilus to sort of stop him and slow them, because like the biggest thing here with on hit health regen champions like Trundle is they need to be able to hit. And between the Jhin and between the Nautilus, you can just sort of space that out and focus on the rest of the team or hit him from really far away.
Yeah.
And I think that might turn into a bit of a problem here for the Trundle.
It absolutely is going to be a difficult game for Trundle, not just in the fact that he can get kited from Team A and really get corralled around in these fights, but also it just doesn't feel like he really fits with the rest of the composition here. Like Team B is very range focused with Ziggs, Nico, and Ezreal being able to snipe you from very far away. Trundle has almost no range. He has to be up in your face, and he also is good against tanks, which Team A, like we talked about, basically have none of, right? There is no designated tank on Team A at the current moment. The best you can really go for is that Nautilus, but even that isn't going to feel good, and even that isn't going to possibly protect you from the burst damage of this Team A top side. So I think it's going to be a really challenging game here for Aeon Crystal, a player who has been a pretty good surprise here in the Cyto Combine. And what exactly he can make work here in a composition where he doesn't necessarily fit against a comp that doesn't really give him that much efficiency. So it looks like we are going to be waiting for the games. And while we wait for the games, we are going to take a small little break. So everyone, please get ready for game number 3, as when we get back, we will be on to Summoner's Rift, and we'll see y'all soon.
And we are back into game number 3, and it looks like we've got something cooking up in the top lane, Quacks. This is a 5-man stack.
Yep. They're looking for something. You can see that Crimson is in that pixel bush, so we'll have time to react, but there is a hook. So, I don't know, maybe hold very still as he actually does escape there. They ping him. They don't actually pursue that kill, so they are just going for this invade to gain some info, gain some vision. And I feel like that is a similar thing that will be done here by Team B. You can see they are also on that side of the map. This is probably a good thing because like we talked about with both of these junglers, in the case of Kiana, you're the one that really wants to get ahead. You're the one that really wants to get that gold. And then, hold that thought.
It looks like they feel it. They feel the stack incoming.
Cryogen!
Walk directly into it. Look how quickly he's going to get melted. And now Aeon has a lead early on in this game. And that also forces Shogo potentially to have to back or have a very, very rough bot lane. Looks like he's going to just go for it about half HP. That's going to be really devastating to deal with. But Aeon getting that first kill, I think is going to do a lot for him.
And I also think that Aeon being able to split the map means that it's going to be really difficult for you to have access to this bot lane and influence the 2v2. We talked about it in the draft, how the 2v2 isn't as important here for Team A as the top side is. We expect Kiana to be a little bit more present around these solo lanes, but it still does feel bad because now a Mixture and Array can basically walk up and look for these trades with impunity like they are right now.
Taking a couple of shots here, but also trading directly into Shogo. Shogo taking even more damage as the heal comes out once again. These heals have been blown super, super quickly. We're 2 minutes in. There's already 2 heals down on each side, and that seems to be the primary set of objectives. And a barrier I didn't realize on Ezreal. That got popped at some point too.
And we can see Aeon is on the bot side, but I'm pretty sure it's too early for a dive at this point. I mean, Shogo just staying level 2. All right, so he's going back. They are actually going to be looking for a dive. Shogo does have that flash available, did have to use that barrier, and the heal was also expended by Cryogen. But let's see how it pans out.
Aeon does get spotted out. Ezreal's super great at these tower dives. The stun almost picking up Mixture, but it does not count because it's neither a horseshoe or a hand grenade as Aeon picks up a second kill, giving Ezreal one in the bottom. So that's a really nice trade. You got to be happy with that, especially because at 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes, we already have Feats of Warfare.
And I feel like Shogo, it was a little bit of a difficult position for him to be in. He had to flash the Tangle Barbs, but if those miss, no one tanks the aggro, so the turret shot doesn't focus onto anyone from Team B. It means that they can basically walk up, get into melee range with the Jhin having no flash and the turret not focusing on the champions. They take down the Jhin. Cryogen follows Array with a really good start to this game, getting that first kill, but also shoving in that wave and denying that gold from Shogo.
Oh no, Cryogen once again overstepping his bounds, gonna run directly into an Aeon, directly into a pillar. Mixture trying to follow it up as Cryogen falls down to less than half HP and gets taken down by Aeon. Aeon sitting at 3-1 at less than 4 minutes.
And this is a great start to the Trundle, who we said, looking at the drafts, may struggle in this mid to late game, Koryak. So him already being able to build up a sizable lead over the Kiana, who has not been able to find anything onto the map. Just got that full clear and now should be looking for their first back any second now. Meanwhile, this Trundle, though, already has the Phage, is looking for these plays. You have to get this gold as the Trundle because, like we said, the range on Team A and just the ability to kite you out is going to prove really arduous if you don't have that gold to survive it as Crimson.
Cryogen looking for another little bit of a gank here on, it looks like Crimson, but it looks like we're not going to take it here on the side of K. So that gives them time to back as we get a full rotation now in the top lane. A little bit early. This is even earlier than the one in game number 1, which was about 5 minutes and 30 seconds. This one's sitting about 4:40, 4:30. So very, very early rotation. I wonder what the thought process is for this. Has Team A just decided to give up the early Drake completely?
I feel like that's probably a appropriate assumption. Koryak is, like we said, 3-1 Trundle, not to be trifled with in the river, is Crimson going to be trifled with.
Absolutely. The hook is good as well as the stun, but at this point, Cassante has got a lot of beef to deal with what's coming his way, but Shogo is constantly chipping at that health, chipping at that armor. He does have 2 biscuits in order to buy himself a little more sustain, as it looks like both top laners are now going to start to do a little bit of 1v2ing. I think Rumble has a bit more of an advantage over the Crimson in these 1v2s, but that will remain to be seen because Shogo is constantly just absolutely chipping away at Crimson.
Yeah, Crimson can tank the damage. As we can see, the Cassante built for these 1v2s, one of the best champions in those situations. But, hang on, Samikin.
Samikin's got to watch out because that shockwave does come in, dealing a decent amount of damage. But ultimately, looks like Samikin on the Ziggs is able to get out relatively unscathed. His HP is low, but once again, it doesn't count because he's able to back and get that much-needed healing from the fountain. As once again, Shogo just continuing to chip away at Crimson.
I like what Crimson was doing there. He was walking up knowing that he would hit 6 off the wave. So if Shogo, you know, had a toe out of line on this Jhin, you just turn onto him, you separate him from the Nautilus over the wall with the all out, and the rest is history. That Jhin is history, but Shogo sniffs that one out, doesn't fall for it, and Crimson will finally be able to get some pressure alleviation, some stress as well, as he actually is going to be going toward the bot side now. So Team B, a little bit later to respond on the swaps, but will still get the swaps down, as looking in mid lane, Yu.
Samikin having to blow up Flash as Yu tries to close the distance, and yes, indeed, they are going to find it. Looks like the hook is not going to be good, but 1 AA will spell the doom of Samikin, but it's not even needed as Toasty is able to grab a kill on top of the Ziggs. Ziggs may have an escape, but it just was not enough to escape from both the jungle and the supports.
And now, I mean, Toasty is going to be able to push in this wave and deny some creeps from Samikin, who had to use that TP earlier. So the Ziggs falling a little bit behind the Orianna, both in the CS department, also that kill making up a good amount of gold, just furthering the gap between those two. And this is what we talked about, right? Like, Samikin has not been seen on this Ziggs pick very often, as Crimson is going to be okay. He's Cassante. He will be fine.
Absolutely, Cassante being the Silas of top laner, just with a bit more beef and arguably a bit more health regen. So he's got a lot to go for him. Samikin absolutely in trouble again as the shockwave comes in, but just barely not able to escape of it, as Toasty throwing a ball his direction, picking up a kill once again. Toasty laying the smackdown on Samikin. Poor guy cannot catch a break.
And Toasty, the beneficiary of these kills as well. He received both of the gold from those. Meanwhile, Yu only getting the assists. While I do like that they're giving, you know, some presence and some economy over to this Orianna, you need some of that gold onto the Kiana. So I want to see, with the priority that Toasty will be getting, inevitably with the item advantages that he's generated from the gold that he gets in the laning phase and from these kills, if he can get that priority, link up with Yu, and give his Kiana some of the kills, then I think it will be a really nice situation that Team A find themselves in. But if Yu is just going to be sitting on these 2 assists without that extra little bit of boost in gold, then it feels like he's not going to be able to keep up with Aeon Crystal, who is still sitting at 3-1 and getting very close to that first item.
The biggest thing I think that Yu has had and Yu is doing over Aeon Crystal is, despite the fact that Trundle is so fed, other than grabbing these Void Grubs here, he hasn't seemed to capitalize on that advantage too much. And some of that has to do with the kit for Trundle. U13 on Kiana has a lot more room to sort of make these more impactful, immediate plays. And we have seen that as Toasty's taken an absolute pounding in the bot lane. Mixture is here to provide a lot of damage. We do get a satchel charge in, but we just cannot close the distance on Toasty as Mixture gets taken down by Kiana. Aeon going in, Ezreal trying to head it off with a little bit of an ult, but U13 should be able to get out of this. I doubt they won't.
Yep. Both Team A mid jungle duo, after getting that kill onto Mixture, will be able to escape with their lives. As, yeah, like you said, Aeon Crystal on the top side managing to get those grubs, so that'll be really important to deny away from the Ziggs. Samikin has been really struggling in this game on Ziggs so far, and won't be able to recoup that gold via the plates that he would get on this champion. So it does kind of leave him in a little bit of a difficult situation. You've got one of these poke champions who needs economy in order to function and doesn't have access to the main way that he gets that economy. So I think it's going to be up to Team B to maybe put the Ziggs in a side lane at some point, try and get him some farm, and fight as little as possible and just let these scaling threats get stronger. As we do see Aeon possibly looking for a dive here. K not going to overstep his bounds, going to go past that bush and going to be just a little bit razzled up from the poke on that Ezreal. Now, though, we talk about the ability to deny the 3 grubs from the Ziggs and shut out Samikin, but it also means that the 3 grubs go over to Trundle, who is in a similar tier of tower taking ability as the Ziggs, as Mixture is going in for a flank. Big pop blossom, forcing shoulder flash.
Able to get a decent pop blossom, locking down Cryogen, but the tower still absolutely stings. However, we do pick up a kill, locking down the other side as the real Aeon goes in, trying to close the distance on Shogo, but now we've got a little bit of back and forward. It looks like Shogo just needs one more shot, and it's just barely not going to happen. However, we do have the rotation for Toasty, wanting that blood, wanting that kill, but can they find the Trundle?
Yeah, Trundle is just not long for this world. Doesn't matter where he goes. The Nautilus is going to pick up that kill. And yeah, a thwarted tower dive there by Team A. Team B thinking they had the angle, but weren't really able to capitalize off of it in the end. So now we go back to the game. We can see that Toasty leaving the wave in a neutral position. Samikin just going to push it. Actually going to cancel the back with the Mega Inferno Bomb. Will, or should have that up by the time the Dragon spawns in about a minute 30. So no harm in using that just to get yourself a little bit of a timing lead over the Orianna. Yeah, both of these teams now very even in gold, very even in kills, and sitting at one objective apiece.
Absolutely, and you know, Ziggs having these Void Grubs provides a lot of pressure as K takes quite the hammering for Crimson. Crimson finally able to find some sort of advantage on his lane opponents, but Ziggs really struggling to get close to, ooh, okay, that was a weird interaction to watch for sure, as K, it looks like he's starting to fight into Crimson. Crimson able to do a good amount of damage, but that tower is able to return it immediately as Jin opens up with Curtain Call, trying to find the kill on Israel, but it looks like Mixture's gonna run immediately into it, making the good guy support play, as once again, Cassante able to pick up a kill there in top lane, finally getting the lead on his lane opponent, taking down the Rumble, and now should have plenty of shots at the tower.
Yeah, K gets taken down,
Toasty.
and Crimson, Toasty may be able to find a rebound kill on top side. Okay, cancels the back.
He's gonna be able to lay it. Choco in a bit of trouble as a 3-man gate comes in. Pop Blossom looking for the angle, trying to lock them down as plenty of people try to take the shots for the tower, but it looks like Ezreal's gonna be the main one to go for it. Aeon Crystal sort of left here holding the bag underneath tower, is indeed gonna get taken down as we do get the flash out on Ezreal, because that hook got so close, and that would have been insta death with U13 chopping at the bits.
Yeah, I mean, this Kiana's first item now, this really is when most assassins come online around first and second items, is when they really want to press their advantage, and they will do just that. Aeon gets taken down on the bot side, Dragon ripe for the taking, and the rest of Team B on that bot side forced to go for the reset. Samikin maybe in a little bit of trouble, does have flash, but won't need to use it, as the Ziggs is really just being aggressed onto heavily in this early game. But we've seen this kind of situation from Samikin before, where he is the target of mass amounts of bullying from the opposite team, but he's been really good at rebounding in those games. So I do feel like if Team A want to continue pushing forward in this game, putting the Ziggs further and further behind, they can never really put their foot off the gas, because the moment they do, a Samikin will be there to collect the gold.
Absolutely. Ziggs providing so much passive pressure, that increasing with the Void Grubs, taking out that tower right before our eyes, despite the fact that he is 0-2. It doesn't feel like it. The wave clear on Ziggs is absolutely phenomenal, as well as the tower pushing. As Shogo actually gets caught out over here by Crimson. Crimson perfectly happy to do a bit of tower diving, absolutely hammering him down, taking him out, and now Shogo sitting at 2-1 at about 14 minutes.
And Shogo cursing his NACL top laner as Crimson gets that solo kill and will be able to have some time on the bot side. They're going to force Toasty down toward that lane to match the Cassante, or at least pick up the wave, and this will give Team B the ability to rebound on this top side, clear out some of this vision that's been laid out by Team A. because they've got those numbers advantages ahead of this Herald. So I like how they are playing around the maneuvers of Team A. They are, you know, looking at these rotations as Array.
Array taking a whole bunch of damage between Rumble and Kiana, able to do a good chunk of damage. Here comes Aeon, able to do a bit of return here. Redemption coming down, but it's not going to be enough as Mixture comes around for the other counter kick, absorbing plenty of these tower shots. Very calm, very collected, and now Sammy can take down the tower. That's going to be another T1 down in the favor of Team B.
I mean, they're just moving the Ziggs around. He's playing Demolition Agent here, going for the mid lane tower, now going for the top lane tower. This will allow Team B to have so much control over the top side, and so what will follow is that Rift Herald, which will almost certainly give them another turret, by the way. So they really are good at controlling these neutral objectives so far. If they can just translate that onto the Dragons, it will be good. As Shogo, they're going way too far. They don't have the numbers for this, or do they?
Equalizer doing exactly as says the name on the Tim, as Sammykin takes curtain call after curtain call, but so does Aeon Crystal getting executed. Shogo finally online, getting a little bit of gold in his pocket as Mixture is the only one to walk away from that. Sure, we may have gotten our hands on the Shelly, but what did it cost us? 2 kills and at least 1 shutdown.
Yup. So gold going over to Team A here. And K having his time on the top side. You can see that all of Team A are actually carving out this part of the map, making it difficult for Team B to step up. So they should almost certainly claim their own tier 1 in that top lane. K is actually going to go for the reset, so they're going to wait a little bit before going on to that. Probably not wanting to overcommit because, again, they don't have the grub, so they don't have that guaranteed, you know, efficiency on the turrets. They don't want to overstay their welcome. As we thought Team B weren't overstaying their welcome, but it turned out they did. And what results is now we're right back to neutral on the gold.
Absolutely. And, you know, while we have been focusing on consistency and pointing out how it's one of the core pillars that wins plenty of the games, we're seeing another core pillar, which is going to be macro. And a lot of it's lying on the shoulders of Sammykin. Despite the fact that he has been down most of this game, it does not feel like that with the pressure. League of Legends is not a KDA-based game. The KDA helps you get objectives, but you can also get the objectives without the KDA, which Ziggs very much so has been doing.
Yeah, KDA is a lie. KDA doesn't matter. Faust said that as Team A, and now around the bot side, really just looking to be first to this river around the dragon, because this would be soul point for them. Checking in on them, we haven't talked a lot about it, but I mean, Toasty has been having a phenomenal game so far on the Orianna. 3-0-2.
Oh, yeah.
And you as well. We talked about how he needed gold. He sat with those 2 assists because he put pressure in the mid lane. He's gotten 3 kills since then. So really good amount of generation here from the jungler that needs high economy, right? So this mid jungle duo of Team A is what needed the gold. They have gotten the gold, and now it's just a question of how can they execute around these team fights in the river.
Absolutely. Fake Nico going in, providing a little bit of warding for their side as the Vision War has truly begun, because with about 20 seconds, we're going to have another Drake coming up, and Team B really needs to try to delay this if they are able to. And something I want to point out here too is Cryogen, you know, just like you were saying in game number 1 draft, you know, has had phenomenal rotations, phenomenal ganks, and that hasn't stopped on the Nautilus. In fact, I think it's actually been the best today on the Nautilus.
I think that Cryogen has accelerated his gameplay to an actual elite level in the NACL with his roam timers and understanding of that mechanic on the support. Same goes for Mixture, again, as you almost just blows up Sammykin.
Yeah, absolutely. Sammykin's already down right before this fight has begun, which puts all of Team B at his advantage as the curtain call opens up for Jet.
Beautiful shockwave.
Unfortunately, not able to catch anyone as the shockwave does a good chunk of damage. Crimson duking it out, trying to buy his team a little bit.
Cryogen?
Equalizer comes in, absolutely melting the team. U13 wants to get in there, wants to go for that trundle, and they are going to find it, but do they commit to it? It's hard to tell, as it looks like Crimson going in, only to almost get taken down. Still a lot of back and forward. Sammykin able to get the reset, picking up almost a hook directly to the face, as this is turning into a weird set of spaghetti with Mixture somehow being the only one to go down.
Okay, there we go.
I spoke too soon.
Yep, you picking up that kill. Shogo not going to claim that gold. Instead, it will be the Kiana. Everyone in that exchange, minus the mid laners, was battered and bruised and beaten. Koryak limping with low health bars, but Team A find their moment onto the Ziggs, catching Samikin out just a little too far, and will be the ones to claim soul point. They will immediately have to leave, as all of Team B have respawned, regened, and are back onto the map. Cryogen maybe not getting the memo, doesn't have flash.
The hook looking for a little bit of save, but it looks like it's just not going to help with that rocket belt propelling plenty of damage. Mixture picks up a kill, but that's not the worst thing. Nico getting a little bit of gold can be capitalized, and we have seen what Mixture can do when they are a bit ahead in order to provide a lot to their team. And once again, despite the fact that Ziggs is 0-4, he has had quite, Samikin specifically has had quite the impact on this game. But I think the other side too is I think we need to highlight U13. U13 is playing an assassin that wants to play around the walls, but they haven't had a lot of opportunities to play around that, but it doesn't feel like that. They're sitting at 4-1, and they've been able to provide so many advantages.
Oh my, he got it!
Just like that, U13 goes in and picks up the autocon.
I'll be taking that. Thank you very much for the leash, says U13, as the Kiana swoops in, steals the autocon, gives their life for the cause. But that is absolutely worth it for Team A, as now
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
difficult to imagine they can continue propelling that forward now with how much pressure Team A are able to deliver onto them.
Absolutely, and what a smooth motion, what a smooth set of events there for U13 to pick it up. U13 really has been shining like a star in this game. Redemption coming down, trying to do a bit of damage here on Samikin, but it looks like Aeon Crystal is here to provide a little bit of help. However, it looks like Toasty coming around the other side, TP doing the exact same thing, coming in, trying to lock down, but it's going to be a little too late as Aeon falls to pieces. However, pick up a root there on Toasty as Crimson goes in, isolates, picks up a kill, and gets a shutdown, and at least irks out some sort of advantage for his team, but that's going to be a 1-for-2 trade in the favor of Team A, Quacks.
Yup, it's a 2-for-1 trade, like you said, and Toasty giving his life. One of the main carries of Team A, so that shutdown actually going to be really valuable for Team B, and I think, you know, puts it definitely more worth it for Team B, because even though they lost more members, they got that valuable gold. Now, no objective coming up for a good amount of time. Crimson manages to complete the recall, so we'll be able to get out of dodge, but yeah, like we talked about, Team B, the only objective they have so far are those grubs, and for the past 5 to 7 minutes, it's been really hard, especially with all of those tier 1s already taken down, for them to actually push beyond that line and threaten these tier 2s without overextending, like they might be right now.
Looking for a little bit of a stun, but it looks like they don't have too much to follow up. I think Samikin wanted to get a satchel charge in there, but the thing is, K is very hard to lock down, not only on that champion on Rumble, but just sort of in general having quite the dominant performance in most situations. However, I think this time Crimson has actually overshadowed them. Crimson has had these small, calculated plays to look for more and more advantages, and they've really paid off. He's sitting at 4-1. He's got a lot of gold, and he is quite the commanding presence for their team. The biggest thing they need to do is they need to try to turn some of those into advantages, get those objectives, because we're getting so close to getting soul point on the side of Team A, and Crimson, I think, is a key factor to turning a lot of these fights around.
Jogo playing with fire a little bit there on the spacing, as the pillar not going to connect, but will not burn the flash either. Cryogen looking for an excuse to hook in, and he will find Aeon.
He does find it, as Aeon does indeed get locked down, a whole bunch of damage, as it looks like we're trying to follow it up. However, the flash is good. Pop Blossom unfortunately is not, as Crimson comes in, dishing a little bit of damage here to the support, trying to lock him down. Massive shockwave, but it's just not going to be enough, as U13 goes in, trying to find some sort of easy advantage. Curtain Call opens up, looking for that final shot. Unfortunately, it's not going to hit Crimson. He does have the moves, as he's able to escape, and that's actually going to be a 1-for-1 support trade. And I thought that was going to be more, Quacks.
Yeah, honestly, I did too. I think K had the opportunity to look for a kill, but he overheated at the wrong time to start that fight. So the Rumble actually wasn't able to throw out that flamethrower and finish off one of those low HP targets. So they do get away, but it certainly felt like Team A could have gone for more. They are setting a trap here. You can see that KNU are looking for the first person that steps nearby. Dragon coming up in about 10 seconds, and both teams running as fast as they can toward that pit.
U13 taking quite the aggressive posture, really looking for that numbers advantage. The TP comes in immediately into Crimson. Crimson's definitely happy to duke it out.
Cryogen!
As we now have the overwhelming number advantage for Team B. U13 taking even more HP, and this may have cost them the soul.
Yeah, I mean, Yu doesn't want to overstay for that Dragon, because if he ends up going down in an attempt to take it, then it's just immediately a Baron for Team B. The death timers are really long at this point in the game. We're almost at 30 minutes, so he doesn't want to risk a bad situation going worse, as Cryogen, just with a really, really over-aggressive teleport, goes in way too deep. Probably figured that the rest of Team A were a little closer, that they had his back, but he gets his back broken in that exchange. Is now Toasty, the next target here for Team B. Can they pick up on him? He doesn't have flash.
A Blossom coming in for Mixture, trying to lock him down. There should be plenty of time to lock down the Orianna. Shockwave does come in, but it does not do enough as Toasty falls to the jaws of Crimson, picking up a kill, picking up another number advantage right before an objective spawns. Things are looking a little grim for Team A in game number 3, Quacks.
Yeah, they definitely have dropped the ball in, you know, the smaller sense of the word. Still, their win con of the Dragon is alive. They still have the Baron to play for, but they have sacrificed a little bit of that gold over to Team B with the kill onto Cryogen, and then now just recently the kill onto Toasty on the side lane. But they still aren't really able to posture aggressively. They don't want to run the risk of, you know, face checking into a Nautilus, face checking into a Kiana, because Yu is still very much in this game, right? This Kiana still very much is a threat and can be very dangerous. I say that, and Aeon takes that challenge.
There it is, Redemption coming down. However, Aeon is the lesser there for it as the Equalizer comes in, trying to lock them down, mainly hitting Mixture, looking for the stuns, but it's just not going to be good enough as Ezreal tries to take the goodbye plays, but takes a curtain call directly to the face as Shogo picks up a double kill, and things have turned around. The tables have turned once again, now in the favor of Team A.
And Array was like trying to provide peel for Aeon, but he ends up going down himself and losing his life in the process. Now Team A are going to pivot onto the Baron. There's no jungler alive here for Team B. Yu is actually getting pretty low, but there just isn't really an angle for them to find that aggressiveness. They're going to try anyway, though.
Mega Death Bomb coming and doing a good chunk of damage, as unfortunately it looks like someone gets isolated and taken down there. It was the Nico, his Mixture, gonna get picked off. I don't blame them, looking for an angle as Cryogen tries to lock down Crimson. Crimson taking a good chunk of damage. This might be a good opportunity to take him out, but he tries valiantly to grab up another kill, but it's just not gonna happen. Baron falls in the background, and we get another 1-for-2 trade.
And now off the resets, they should be able to get gold, but also with these Baron-empowered minions, that you can use the fact that you already took those outer tier turrets to push in that lane, get that vision line extended, and make it difficult for Team B to walk into without face checking, as it seems like that has been the big name of the game. Yu has been really good at capitalizing off of people just walking into him without vision on this Kiana. That burst has been proven so valuable against some of these lower HP targets on the bot side of Team B. Because now they are back redeployed onto the map in the mid and bot lanes, pushing out those waves with the Baron empowerment.
And we're seeing something once again rear its ugly head, which of course is the, you know, the Void Grips don't matter if you can't make it to the towers. And Ziggs so far has only been able to make it to 2 of the towers, top lane and the mid lane. Not able to really do too much about bot. I think someone else got their hands on bot, but Ziggs has very much so struggled to sort of close that gap and get there and try to take some of those towers. And Baron is only going to help Team A keep Ziggs away from these towers.
Yeah, I mean, Ziggs has to play defense for his towers right now, and it feels really difficult to do so. Currently, he is sectioned off from the rest of his team. Crimson is going to join him on the bot side, but Baron-empowered minions and all the members of Team A walking up here, it's going to be difficult to protect that thing, as we can see there's some action on the 6 o'clock of this fight. Some potential flanks here from Aeon, thwarted by you. As I like the way this Kiana is postured. Not looking for the initial engage, looking for stragglers wherever he can.
Ooh, Shogo able to pick up a stun, but Crimson happy to duke it out. However, this is going to be quite the numbers advantage for Team A as U13 is waiting around the corners, and I agree with you. I like the play. I like the posturings here for U13. U13 knows how powerful they are inside the jungle, and so they're trying to play off of it. We do get the ultimate there for Ziggs, trying to lock him down, and the hunt is truly on. This can still turn around one way or another as Toasty takes a whole bunch of damage before the fight
teleporting.
even truly starts. Cryogen coming in as the curtain call opens up as we're locking down people left and right. Kiana able to get a two-man curtain call, does finally in as Cryogen goes back in, flashing back out, trying to buy more time for his team because this is 1-on-3, trying to lock down the support. It's just not going to happen. Shogo sitting here in the background, playing the sniper role as U13 tries desperately to get back in there.
And all of Team B, they're on blinking health bars. They've got to run, but Toasty's on the flank!
Toasty going for the flank, able to pick up kill. Crimson trying to use that to capitalize, but it's just not going to be enough. Getting taken down as Team B is starting to fall to pieces, leaving only 2 left. And now the towers are going to pay for it as U13 goes for the clone.
And it's 40 seconds on the death timers. They still have the cannon minion alive. Can they use this until that bot side minion joins up with the rest of them to maybe look for an end to the game? They're not going to push their luck. They are going to break open the base, but not look for much else after that. They will find themselves an inhibitor, and then they can immediately turn their attention onto the dragon, get that soul, and get that massive win condition. But really good flank there from Toasty. He was sitting at very low HP, finds the empowered recall angle, gets back into the fight, gets a huge shockwave, opens up the floodgates for Team A, and they wreak absolute havoc. And with the now newly acquired Chemtech soul rather, the ability to get onto this backline to burst them down just became significantly harder.
Absolutely, and what's really great is Team B's, like, we've got eyes on all of the flankers, and Toasty going in for the subversion of expectations, using Shockwave, just absolutely nuking people down. And then that whole time, Cryogen was just buying time for his team over and over and over. 1v3 and taking the damage, being in the front. Pop Blossom coming in, locking down the support, and K taking a whole bunch of damage using Equalizer, trying to keep them alive. Cryogen back in, Redemption coming in, somehow keeping K alive as Cryogen having great positioning, staying exactly where he needs to.
Well, they have you.
Support role as U13 goes over the wall, picking up a kill. He's on a killing spree. Curtain call opens up, locking down Cryogen. Cryogen falling to pieces as K does get taken down. U13 looking for another kill, taking Semikin down to about half HP. Aeon on the run, but can he escape? It looks like he should be able to with U13 on the hunt, taking them down. Is finally down though, so they should be able to get out of this, I think, but they've lost a lot for it.
They lost 2 members. You obviously did get picked up, so there was a little bit of a trade there for Team B. And I feel like the big win at the end of the day is they still keep their base alive. They've lost the inhibitor on the bot side, but the wave is now just threatening the base. It's going to be pushing in just a couple of seconds, so they didn't have to worry about that. They still keep what little objectives and little neutrals they have on the map for themselves, and continue to stall out this game. And I feel like if you're Team B, that's all you can realistically ask for at this point.
And looking at everything we've got here on our board, it looks like we're 24-18 in the favor of Team A. We have Soul Point on Team A, and look at the gold, 66k to 59k. Eventually, at some point, that'll fall off as every single side will reach sort of like the max build, but it still comes into play right now as Baron has spawned up, and we should get the Vision War starting off between the supports and the entire team, really.
And now the Baron is going to be the game of chicken that both of these teams are playing around. Team A with that Chemtech Soul, unafraid to walk up, and Samikin just walking into their waiting arms.
No! Unfortunately, it's just not going to be enough, as it looks like U13 able to pick up another kill on the other side. A double kill for K, able to do a whole bunch as Curtain Call opens up, trying to lock down Crimson. Cryogen trying to go in, but even then, I don't think you want to dive a Cassante underneath tower, even if you do have the beefcake. But now, Baron should fall squarely in the hands of Team A Quacks.
Yup, there's really no possible contest, as it was Aeon who had to go back to the base, so he is going to be far, far away, and he should stay far, far away as Team B, that's exactly how this all started. Samikin face checked into Cryogen, rounded that corner, and the Nautilus was right there. They have the Baron, they've got the Soul, they've got the push in top side. They're gonna be putting pressure on that lane. And Team B, they're gonna be forced to respond, but they're down so many advantages. It's an 11K gold lead right now, Koryak.
Absolutely. Team A, this entire game, this entire series has been playing into their strength as Ezreal almost gets taken down by a hook on Cryogen. Cryogen being absolutely a menace just everywhere he goes, being this sort of unstoppable, unkillable. However,
sure.
Awesome coming in, trying to lock down Toasty. Toasty taking a whole bunch of damage as Crimson tries to mop things up, but it looks like Mixer's going to fall to pieces as K chases down the Ezreal on the other side. Damage back and forward. U13 picking up a double kill, leaving Aeon, the only one here to pick up the pieces, going to be he's going to pick up a stun, a death, and that's going to be a full team wipe. What a fight, Quacks.
It was a desperation play there from Team B. They had to look for something. They had to look for an angle. Mixture tries to start the comeback, but it gets snuffed out as Team A on the day with a 3-0 domination here in the Cyto Combine.
Absolutely. Tempo firmly in the control of Team A, almost the entire team. Team B really just struggling, maybe not having caffeine available, maybe being out of coffee at home. It's hard to tell, but they really did struggle in all three of these games. But I think there's a lot of good notes for them to point out. Once again, we harp upon the fact that this is more about the players, and I think there were plenty of players on Team B that stood out for them. I think Crimson, especially in that last game, did a lot of work. I think Mixture had a really great series of pop blossoms. Samikin tried to do everything they could to use what advantages they have, but the thing is, all of Team A goes, okay, we know how powerful Ziggs is with these pushing, with these taking these towers, so we're just not going to allow him to take towers. And they spent so much of this entire series, Quacks, just focusing Samikin.
For sure. I feel like Samikin has been, like we said at the beginning of this game, he's been the target of a lot of bullying in the Cyto Combine, both in the bans and in the game. When he's put on a champion that isn't necessarily associated with him and with his style, a lot of teams take the time out of their game to focus him down and make sure that he can't get back up. And I feel like that was just the strategy from the Shogo squad from Team A, this entire block. Just go mid, give Toasty the advantages. We highlighted this matchup as one that we were really excited to see because both Toasty and Samikin, a lot of people put them in that next up consensus category for the LCS. And so it was a fun matchup to watch, but this definitely felt like a day where Toasty got the better of Samikin.
Absolutely, and I'm super happy to be a part of these games. They were absolutely phenomenal to watch. They were absolutely phenomenal to cast, and I've been so excited to see Path2Pro progress further and further, especially with the changes. I didn't expect limiting the champion pool and getting rid of Fearless, but I do understand the strategy. I do see the mindset for it, and I think this is a good opportunity for both sides to try to mix in the weird. We saw it early on in Path2Pro where we got Nidalee in the bot lane. We got a bunch of weird picks, and I don't think that's a bad thing to do because this is really the ultimate form of limit testing, Quacks.
Yeah, for sure. This is a way for the players to show their personality, but I think in this block particularly, it's a good way to see what their handle is on the meta. And so I thought that this was a really productive block 3 for all of the players. I'm really curious to see what the coaches have to say for the future and what the players are going to take away from this. So we are going to close it out here today, Koryak. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on the broadcast for these 3 games and for the 3-0 domination that Team A were able to put on here. A thank you to Loki, our illustrious producer from behind the glass, and thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to support the next generation of talent here in North America. We will see you guys all again soon. Take care and have a great night.